Throw some colors on the screen and paint me black and white. I wanna see a thief in a gunfight or a heroine wounded in love. You can keep her lighted by an old flame left to frame, so I can read the feeling on her face, half in shadow, and know I felt that too. In danger and in love, you've got the dreams I was dreaming of, and I've got 2 hours to pretend. So I'll watch a movie with a friend. Time's running sideways, and reality's gotta meet me halfway. So I'll meet it here again. Here's the Trading Movies Podcast with friends.
Hello, everyone. Today I am talking to Millie Odegard, who is a writer in TTRPG GM. You can find her on TikTok at Millie Odegard. That's MILLIE ODEGARD. Millie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excited to be here, for you to be here. Yeah, I was just about to say off camera that this was a serendipitous week. I didn't necessarily, not that I didn't remember. I have my podcast sort of scheduled out that I know I'm going to talk to someone on Saturday the week before, but just my brain being the way it works, I didn't realize I was talking to you specifically this Saturday until this week, but I had already started playing Eye of the Beholder. I don't know if you ever, so I was already kind of getting into, I was happy. So I was into a kind of a dungeon mode.
Yeah, very apropos.
Yeah. So that, I don't know if you're I actually kind of want to ask that. So you're a TTRPG. So that is tabletop RPG, DM and player, right?
Yes.
And
though I'm what we call in the community a forever DM. Most of my game time is running games.
Gotcha. How'd you get into it?
Oh, I had nerdy friends way back. So I've always been into video games, and I think that's sort of gateway drug to TTRPGs.
Yeah.
Especially if you play RPG video games. And then eventually someone was like, do you want to play Pathfinder? And we did, and it went off the rails, as early games tend to do. And then from there, I just went sort of in and out with it until I got to be a player for a long-term campaign. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to start running games. And didn't look back from then. So I've been doing it for years now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It was always something that, I feel I really want to get into it at some point. I think I've only ever played 3 sessions.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
None of my my close group. I have 2 older brothers and a friend that are sort of a very close group, these 2 other friends, and I don't think any of them really like it. Unfortunately, they like playing the games, but I don't know if they like doing the. But I'm always I'd love to do it. Let's get a DM or something,
I think you need there are people who get into it just for the game aspect. I think you need to be really into games, or you need to be really into storytelling. If you're so on both, then it might be more getting over the hump of the cringe is not going to be that worth it to someone who's just lukewarm about it all. But I think it's a fantastic storytelling medium, and it's kind of unlike most other things. It's its very own thing. But if you ever want to play, I might run something for people I know off of TikTok as well. So.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I would love to. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one time we played, I think my shout out, my friend Nat, she DM'd it. I can't remember. I can't remember that. It wasn't D&D, because I remember they weren't that big of a D&D fan, but it was some other system. But I remember we just had kind of an evil party, and my brother was playing a gelatinous cube, because he just loves gelatinous cubes, and I was playing I was playing a beholder. It was jacked. That's the character I wanted, just a beholder, but I had 2 arms, and I was just.
I was gonna ask if the eye stalks were the thing that was jacked, but you had arms. You weren't just a floating.
The eye stalks were jacked too.
Okay, good. You don't skip stalk day. So
Yeah,
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 okay.
yeah. Don't skip stock day. Yeah, you
I
should never.
eyelid completely like muscled as well. When you
Yeah, the
blink,
whole
it's yeah.
the whole thing. But I think my friend Nat, she hated my character. I
Mm-hmm.
was listening to one of your videos, like a bunch of your videos last night. Um, and yeah, just in terms of like some of the, I'm gonna have to call her out now in terms of like the bad DM style or like some of the red flags or whatever, because like she definitely just
Uh-huh.
hated my character. But I kind of get it. She likes to troll me.
Well,
Kind of funny.
I think I think what is considered adversarial and what isn't is very up to each table.
Yeah.
So if you have a relationship with a friend where it's like you are gonna give each other shit, then by all means. But yes, there are better ways to let a player know that you don't like their character than to test their beautiful swole stalks until they
I
fall
know.
off.
That's what
Yeah.
I was thinking. Yeah, I love beholders. I have like that's like my I forgot I had a couple of my beholders up here. But I gotta remember I got this little beholder guy. It's like a little
Nice.
I think it's supposed to be a dice, I think. Like it like bends up and like I don't want to close them, I never close them, but I think it like kind of
Mm-hmm.
folds up and then there's like a little dice thing. But yeah, it's funny you
Mm-hmm.
said the games. So what were the games that sort of gotten you into like was it like you play like Super Nintendo, Nintendo, PC games?
Oh, I am still I have a PC now, so I play games on PC now, but I've always been like a console
Mm,
person, so I played on PlayStation and but the like RPGs, I was really into like BioWare stuff.
mm.
My favorite game series is and might remain Mass Effect because I played it when I was a teenager and I
Yeah, I
was
really like you.
just
I love Mass
yeah,
Effect. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't think anything will ever measure up to Mass Effect for me, but then of course I played Dragon Age
Mm,
as well, and those did really sort of inform like, wow, you can play games and make choices. You can play games and be a really bad person if you want to, and that just like that's a whole new door that's sort of opened because a lot of games, and I do like linear story games as well,
mhm.
but there's quite a few of them that don't offer a lot in terms of like replay value just narratively, unless you
Mhm.
really, really, really like the story. And there are few actiony games that are such masterpieces that you're just like, oh my god, I have to experience this story over and over
Yeah,
again. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, it's same. I love both those series. Dragon Age was a real treat because we grew up my brothers and I playing the Baldur's Gate series. So it was like Baldur's
Mm,
Gate like 1, 2, and this is like back when you had to like local area network like over WAN, like we had to
mm,
Windows 98 PCs and all that
mm.
when we were like 10, 11, 12 and stuff. So yeah, when Dragon Age came out, that was a lot of fun. Mass Effect 2, or Mass Effect, comma TLO, not Mass. I mean, Mass Effect 2 is a great one, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, do you like? Is there like a? Is that generally how most people, in your experience, like come to it from like gaming? Yeah, I know you said it's like you generally have to be into like gaming versus storytelling. Or at
Mm.
least you have to like to I don't know. Maybe you said to enjoy it or whatnot, but is that
You
where most people
can
come from?
you can come from like the board game side of
Mm,
it at all, like sort of the war gaming side of it, but I'm not super familiar with that. But
yeah,
there are a lot of crunchier games out there that don't have like role play aspects. I know a lot of people are also into like Warhammer or Magic the Gathering. There's a
right.
lot of overlap between like TTRPG people. I mean, Warhammer also a TTRPG, but
Have you played
um
Gloomhaven? You know that
I
one?
have not. I have
It's a
not.
great. That's it's came out a couple years ago as like one of the. There's a digital version if you like the gaming. It's kind of like
Hmm.
plays top down like Dragon Age or like Baldur's Gate 3 or the Divinity
Hmm.
games or something. But I think it's like a DM-less. It's kind of like an auto DM'd RPG a bit, where it's like
Hmm.
you progress and you unlock certain stuff, but you have to like set it up. And there's no one playing the DM role, but it's like you just it sort of abides by the rules, I guess, is the thing. I did
Hmm.
really
Yeah.
like. We played this other game called King's Dilemma that was really really fun. That's like that would actually be really fun to play on TikTok if you do anything with like a bunch of people
Mm-hmm.
because that is like a you each play like a ruler of a kingdom or like I think you play like maybe like a duke on the council or you have like your own little piece of the kingdom and the
Mm-hmm.
only the only thing in the game is just sort of voting. Like these situations come up, and then you just vote, and that's the entire game. And then it's like a legacy game that like continues and all that. It
That
seemed to me
sounds
very,
fun. Like
yeah,
it might ruin some friendships, but you know, fun.
yeah. My dad ended up winning. We played. It was like we played it over like 12 sessions, and me and my brothers,
Oh,
and
okay,
yeah,
lengthy. Cool, cool.
yeah. It's yeah, and it's like the world becomes like I think like at the start, I think I like voted against like going on like colony like or like helping colonize this other part, and so like it was I from what I remember it was like bad for me for a while, but then it like came back that like there was an uprising and the rest of the people had to like spend a bunch of money, and I was like doing pretty well because I didn't do the colonizing.
Hmm.
It was kind of neat.
Yeah, that
Variety
sounds
like
cool.
that.
There's so much cool stuff in like not just video games, but yes, board games and tabletop role-playing games, and just there's so many creative people that make really cool games in
Yeah.
all of those spheres. And I'm glad more people have come into it because of D&D, but
Hmm.
I wish more people played more like TTRPG systems because
Hmm.
I started off with Call of Cthulhu, which
Okay.
obviously horror, cosmic
Well, yeah.
horror, yeah,
That's
which is all about cosmic horror is about staving off the inevitable
mm,
because these incomprehensible horrors will always win. But I think there are meaningful stories to tell, sort of in the meantime of like your struggle, that the fact that you struggle still, even in the face of the impossible. I think that's
mm,
something like very human because that is kind of an allegory of our struggle against our own mortality because death comes for us all, and that is sort of the eldritch horror that is the constant in all of our lives.
which is also in the choice of Millie's movie today, which was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which is very
Yes.
specifically about that concept. So is that an
Yes.
eldritch horror in a way?
I suppose it like I think obviously death and the unknown and the dark and all that, those are the original horrors. I
Mm.
think we find modern people find different things to be afraid of,
Yeah.
like going on a podcast or handing in a short story. Like a fear comes to us with new faces in our modern world, but I think death is the original one, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, they absolutely. This was a so so this for this week Millie had picked Puss in Boots: The Last Witch. I can't remember the exact conversation, but I remember you saying something like I can't remember. People always ask what movies to pick, and I'll watch anything. Like I'm
Hmm.
even watching I'm not a Barbie fan, but I'm even watching I think Barbie again at some point way down the line with this author who's like a big or this professor who's like a big defender of it. Um I think you said I'm just looking at the messages. I think I'm pretty high on the people who think too much about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish list.
Yeah.
So I guess like yeah, I'm curious. Like I love this movie.
Hmm.
This so I watched it last night.
Had you seen it
Um,
before?
I had not. No, I had not seen it. I actually bought the first one and I was gonna watch that one too, but I ended up just
Hmm.
like not having time.
Yeah.
Um, because I had like a previous thing. I went and saw what is it's like Bring Her Back, I think, is a new like horror movie out by the people
Hmm.
who made Talk to Me or Talk. I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
Talk
I've
to Me.
I've heard. I've not. I've
Yeah,
gone to see Sinners 3 times. So every time I've gone to like, should I go watch a new movie? I've been like, Sinners again.
yeah,
So I need to go
yeah,
and see something else now soon.
yeah. It was I honestly I didn't really like it. I didn't really like Sinners, but I already talked about that, and I just recorded a podcast last week about that. So I don't
Hmm.
want to. You had some very good thoughts on Sinners, I will say.
Yeah.
You're probably the one who's most convinced me out of the people that I've heard. Like maybe I should give it another look at some point. Um, but yeah, I didn't really like the movie last night at all, and it was, um, but it was also about death. Like it's heavily about death and stuff. And so I was kind of like, it was also at the tail end of like kind of a glum like week or two,
Hmm.
and yeah, I was just ugly crying for like half this movie last night, like 4 a.m.
Hmm.
just watching it. It's just so good. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for picking it. So why do you like it so much?
Mm, I like to see an archetype peeled back and sort of put on its head, because Puss is the archetypal outlaw, like with selfish, arrogant, but like he makes things happen, but none of it is for good reasons. It's just to sort of keep up a facade, and to see the person behind that facade, and to see them broken down as well. I think there's something, and it feels weird to say that about a cat in boots. It's so human. It is so human. And
I legitimately think this was one of the best action movies probably I've seen in years.
Yeah.
Just of anything.
It's beautifully animated as well. Like, it's so dynamic with the. And I know. Am I allowed to curse, by the way?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
I know jack shit about like proper cinematography or stuff like that, but I like how the camera will follow the action as if it is a part of it so much, and it really gets us down onto the ground with Puss for so many stints of the action. But yes, I love when kids media, or like media for families, deal with real shit. Because I've also talked about other like animated things where people go like, oh, you should never show this to a kid, and it's something with like an age rating for like 7 or 10 and up, and I'm just like, have we gotten that pearl clutchy about showing real shit to kids? It's just so I love it when media offers something deep to children, because it acknowledges them as people, as worthy of depth within their stories. And also, the child in me loves that so much as well.
I couldn't believe it. I came out of it thinking that this movie was made specifically for me, just recently turned 35-year-old dude. Like, I thought it was like, this is a movie specifically for like me.
Yeah.
Me.
No, but it's so good. I think I've seen it a lot of times. I don't know how many.
It legitimately might go in like my top 100, like, or something. Like, it's probably, I think it might be. So I think the best. I've told this story a bunch in the pod, but like I never watched any Disney movies growing up. Like, my mom and my grandma. I was telling Millie, who's from Norway, that my mom had spent a summer in Norway, and my grandma was my grandpa were geologists, so she was like an early like college degree having feminist. So she was like, she didn't want my mom and my uncles to watch Disney movies, and she didn't want me and my brothers and everyone to watch Disney movies, because she thought they gave us bad impressions of like women in terms of like having jobs, being princess and all that, which I totally get. I mean, I haven't seen any of them to like specifically critique them, but point being is that I watched a lot of Looney Tunes growing up, but not a lot of animation. So I think the one I had in my top 100 for sure is like Inside Out is probably my favorite. Really liked Wall-E, and but like Inside Out specifically, adored it.
That one has been so important for kids as well. I love that, giving them sort of a vocabulary to talk about emotions.
It's literally like cool. IFS. I don't know if you know the term integrated family systems, I think it is. My therapist is a big IFS person. Internal family systems therapy. But it's kind of like parts-based therapy where you talk about different things. So my therapist loves that movie too. Because of like how deep sort of the thing is. But yeah, I felt like it was made specifically for me. So thank you for picking this, because like, it was like such a treat. Yeah. I don't want to spend like an hour gushing to you about all the things I loved about it, but I probably will. But like, The Mask of Zorro was like my favorite movie as a kid. Antonio Banderas, the '97 one. I don't know if you've seen that one, but
no, I'm not.
This is kind of in that universe. It must be. I feel like the Puss in Boots.
I mean, I think I've seen clips of maybe some of the fights.
Yeah.
Because there's a YouTuber, I don't remember her name, that does like fight choreography breakdown stuff, and especially when she's like flirting fighting choreography, because that's its very own genre, and I think Zorro has that.
I think there was a reference in the beginning of the movie when he goes by the guy and he like kind of swish Puss in Boots, and takes his clothes off or whatever. They do that in Zorro. That's like a very famous scene with him and Catherine Zeta-Jones, where it's kind of a flirty fight scene.
Yeah.
Very similar vibes to this movie, honestly. If you imagine him as a cat, I could see it being in the Puss in Boots universe, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, Puss, obvious inspiration, like drawn from Zorro. Like there's no doubt about that. So
Yeah.
Puss pays homage to Zorro with his little.
Yeah. Yeah, that and I couldn't believe so you had mentioned, so you said you don't watch a lot of older movies, like so I picked the Seahawk, and it was just honestly I was just like I should, that's kind of a, Errol Flynn was a big gap for me. It is a big gap, and I think this is the first Errol Flynn movie I've seen, but he was like, along with Douglas Fairbanks Jr., I think one of the original sort of swashbuckling guys. So I wanted to, I guess, watch it. I also really liked it. I got to say, did you like the Seahawk?
Yes, I did. I did. There's some differences between, like, we're going to talk about like differences and similarities
Yeah,
and
go
stuff
ahead.
like that. It's a propaganda movie. Like it seems like that it's like, oh, England good, Spain very bad. And I have to say I was chuckling a bit at the end with the Queen's speech about how England sees everyone as equal, and I was just like, are we talking about this? Is this the same England, perchance?
Yeah.
But I still think it's a really fun movie. I don't think that is a detriment to it more than a comment on when it was made and by whom and for whom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I looked on the Wikipedia after, and saw that it was like, explicitly like anti-German. It was like to try and sort of gin. But honestly, it kind of worked because I was ready to go to war after. I was like, I was like, damn, I should go serve on a ship somewhere.
Oh, it's hectic as well. Like there's so many people on screen for some of the scenes. I was just like, and the ships look gorgeous too. I do want a ship now, so I don't know how I'll go about getting one, but
Norway, I think there's a lot of, the fjords and the, rivers and the lakes and everything, right?
yeah, but I don't think commandeering a ferry or a cruise ship will get the same effect as one of those cool ships.
Yeah, I did think that was what I was thinking the same thing. I was like, damn, I really would love it makes like the idea of just of just being one of the crew, and just like, the part where they get enslaved and they have to serve in the galley, that sucks. I would hate to be, obviously, just a galley slave.
Yeah,
but then just being
definitely.
on the ship, they just were all like, they just loved Errol Flynn. Like even the opening scene, like probably 10 of his crew die, but like no one's sad. It's just like, yeah, that's what we do. We're pirates,
Yeah. I also love that he's so kind of polished compared to everyone else as well, with his little tight little doublet and his thigh-high boots, and I'm just like, I am meant to think that this is hard because I am.
Yeah, I think he was like the biggest star. He was one of the biggest stars of like the late 30s and 40s. And he did. I think he did like, this director Michael Curtiz did Casablanca. He's like most famous for. He did like 100 movies. He's a great director. But I think he sort of invented a lot of like this era of swashbuckling genre, where I think he did. I can't remember the movie. It was another sort of swashbuckling pirate movie. But then Errol Flynn did Zorro, and he did uh, Robin Hood, and he did this, and he did a couple of other. I think he did another one called like Elizabeth and Captain Essex, with the same lady as Elizabeth. Actually, and I guess that lady was just the 1930s Elizabeth.
Oh my God, Elizabeth cinematic universe.
Yeah, yeah. Although I can't remember if that one has Betty Davis. There's one of them where they make Elizabeth Betty Davis, and she looks wild in that movie. She looks very, very scary. But yeah, it was him and Tyrone Power. But I totally had the same reaction to you. I think I was like, this guy, even as a straight dude, I was like, this guy's hot. And I was like, I get it. I was like, I'd heard Errol Flynn, like, this guy, biggest star of the 30s and 40s. Like, why so? But very Banderas coded, I think.
Yeah. And it's like everyone else was kind of shabby looking as well. So they didn't really give the supporting cast, they didn't do them any favors. They were just
Yeah.
like, well, you're going to be in this ill-fitting sack and you're going to look kind of sweaty and pudgy. And that this is because you are the ugly frame that is around Mr. Flynn. And they're just like, here, Captain, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's kind of I I gotta say, like, I know some of it's a trope, and I love, if you've not seen Millie's channel, definitely subscribe to her because she goes through so many like different like tropes with like a level of detail that is very impressive, and I
Hmm.
love it. Especially like TTRPG stuff and RPG stuff, and honestly, just even like as like a kind of sort of writer, just myself. Like I don't really write probably the stuff that I think is sort of more. I mean, not yet. I'd love to. Now I really want to write like a swashbuckling or RPG thing, to be honest with you.
Mm.
But
I
like,
think either
oh,
of
sorry.
these movies could have been a really fun like mini campaign for
Yeah.
yeah. And there's like seafaring combat stuff that like people have like added to the game because I don't think it has a lot of it like for
Mhm.
D&D at least. But yeah, it is. I've had some fun fights on ships,
Yeah.
so there could be swashbuckling in TTRPGs as well,
I'd
definitely.
love to do one. If you're doing like, yeah, that'd be
Mm.
the. I'll just roll an Errol Flynn or Puss in Boots character, to be honest, probably.
Yes.
But maybe actually even out. So Alan Hale is the guy who was sort of like the more, I guess, like his kind of best friend, the sort of shaggy headed guy
Hmm.
next to him. And
Yeah.
he is one of my favorite, like, he is like a household favorite in my house with like I live with my two brothers and friend, just a
Hmm.
bunch of mid-30s dudes, just, watching old swashbuckling movies. And he's a big
Sounds
favorite in our
great.
house. Yeah, honestly, pretty nice, I gotta say. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome to, yeah, maybe they'll DM if I don't know how, if you ever go to the States. If you ever want to visit beautiful East Tennessee,
Hmm.
then, we can have you over, and maybe you could get us a DM. I think they DM if you did it,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah. If it was like a pirate ship, probably. If we did like one of those campaigns.
The men must be lured with a pirate ship, and then they
Yeah.
will come.
Yeah.
Build a pirate ship, and then they will come. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Um yeah, it was so that I it's been fun for us because like we're all kind of like, slovenly dudes. It's fun for us watching these old movies because like I guess like at some point we have a recurring complaint that I think people in movies now a lot are too hot, which that was kind of another
Hmm.
thing I liked about Puss in Boots. And I guess maybe animation in general is like they seem to have like a bit more freedom in terms of like kind of displaying,
Yeah.
kind of like they feel like they feel more free in terms of like displaying. You just don't see a lot of guys like his best friend anymore or the rest. Like it is like
Hmm.
you'll have like the hot main actor, but then like everyone else will be kind of hot. And
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
you
yeah,
have the extras smizing in the background, just like I'm gonna
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and then airbrushed and God, yeah. So, but I feel like that's sort of like in other realms as well, like with musicians. Like if you don't look hot,
yeah,
well, tough shit.
yeah,
You don't sound good if you don't look hot. And now it's the same with like, well, you don't act good if you don't look hot, obviously.
yeah. And they get into that I think more in movies in like the late 50s, especially like it's definitely like trope of all tropes. Like you had to have a hot guy and you had to have like a hot gal, like
Hmm.
pretty much as like the leads. But the
Yeah.
people around it, we've been actually kind of enjoying it because it's like, hey, we could be that guy. Like I can't be Errol Flynn. I know I can't be Errol Flynn, but I can be like his sort of like kind of grimy buddy, you know. So I really like that aspect of it.
I'll be Errol Flynn. I'm blonde and I could rock those boots. I
Yeah,
believe it. I believe in myself. I
I
could
think you,
rock those boots.
yeah, you could do a great Errol Flynn. Yeah, that
uh,
would be sick.
mm.
I was gonna try and order the Puss in Boots hat for this episode, but it was real expensive. And it was like,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
also thinking about hat, and then I was just like, but headphones.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
it would look like it would have to be a hat on top of the headphones, or because of being a miniature on here, that would have been great.
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then just being stuck with a Puss in Boots hat on my headphones for the rest of time.
yeah,
I
that's
think.
that's cool. So you don't watch a lot of, you said, you're talking about like cinematography and stuff. And
Hmm.
part of the sort of the goal of this podcast is to talk about movies with people who don't necessarily like aren't movie people, but who are
Yeah.
approaching it through different lens. That's like honestly the reason I wanted to reach out to you, is because like I don't know many TTRPG GMs, and you have had, you formerly had but no longer have, no, you have a like great like a great like set of opinion, like a great way of communicating and thinking and talking about like tropes and
Hmm.
storytelling techniques and everything else. So I'd be curious, like, just about your experience with movies. Do you like? It seems like you think very specifically about a lot of that
Yeah.
when, like, in RPGs and stories and not. And you did mention I watched your Sinners videos, and you know, you had talked through a bit in there. But do you
Hmm.
sort of bring the same, like, is sort of your, I know like Sinners you particularly liked, but is that, do you typically sort of like, I guess, imbibe the media the same way as you would like a storytelling campaign or game or piece of RPG media book?
I think I think I'm a bit of a people person, so I tend to approach any sort of media character first. I think
Uh,
plot is secondary because plot that is not motivated by character is just a series of events.
uh,
If it can't land as being something that makes sense for a character to do, something that is part of their journey, something that will pay off emotionally as you watch them struggle and grow, then plot just sort of falls to the way. I don't want no plot, but I
uh,
want character driven plot. So I think I can approach any storytelling media from that. Of course, I love writing and I love flowery prose. I love poetry as well. But when I watch movies or TV series, I think about the characters. I think about their motivations, their feelings, and I'm a slut for dialogue. I just love good dialogue because good dialogue also informs character,
uh,
subtext, and like choice of words, a structure of a sentence, an accent, intonation, mood, like everything informs character. And that sort of veers off a little into like acting, directing more so. So I think, yeah, the cinematography, like the technique of that, like I can't tell if something's filmed on film or digitally.
uh,
I don't know. There's that one thing where you like tilt the camera. That's a very the
a
famous
Dutch, I think it's a
technique.
Dutch angle.
Dutch, yeah, Dutch
Yeah.
angle. I know that that's a thing, and that's
Mm.
where it ends.
I
But
gotcha.
otherwise, I'm just motivated by people. I think
Mm.
stories because it is it is the road to empathy
Yeah.
and to understanding other people's perspectives. Um, and yeah, and that's the part that really moves me.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, that's one thing I was really um I loved in Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, so
Hmm.
specifically, is it's a thing that I think older movies do, in my experience, I don't want to say better, but uh, they seem to have been doing it better, of like tying the sort of like the action into like the larger sort of thematic, the larger themes that the movie's trying to get at. And I thought Puss in Boots did that. Like,
Yeah.
the sort of the one of the core points of it is he's having a panic attack. And obviously, I mean, this is a spoiler episode, but at the end, like, he defends himself in the duel, but like the real sort of victory there is him accepting death, him accepting the
Yes.
possibility of death, as opposed to
Hmm.
um doing it, which I was like, this is so fucking cool. I was like, this is the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And then
And
what
that's
was
why the
interesting,
wolf is
oh, go
such a
sorry.
good villain as well, because he's not a villain
Yeah.
that you defeat. He's a villain that I get you accept him, and in accepting him, he lets you go. Like
Yeah.
that's just I just love the villain as well because he's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And it didn't feel forced. Also, shout out
Hmm.
Magna Mora on that, who I love. He's in this great movie, Elite Squad, that my Brazilian coworker, um, shout out Denise, she had me watch. It's like a super kind of popular movie in Brazil that was popular like 10, 15 years ago. And she thought I would like it. And I did love it. And that was like one of the movies that made him big. So I was happy that I think he's on Narcos as well and a bunch of other stuff. But he's a great actor, so I was happy to see. Honestly, this movie's cast. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
If you had to design like a perfect cast for a movie that I would want to see, Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, Harvey Guillen, Florence Pugh, Olivia Colman, Ray Winstone, which I don't know. Have you ever seen the movie Sexy Beast?
Mm-mm.
So that might be when we get to the movie recommendations, I'm gonna make sure and add that to my notes. That might be a movie that you would particularly like. It's by the guy who did, I think he did Zone of Interest. If you saw that maybe a couple years ago, that was a really depressing movie. Or he did the one with Scarlett Johansson, Under the
Uh,
Skin. I don't know if any of these are.
yeah, I tend to go. This is why I go for the animation stuff. It tends to be less depressing because
Okay.
I've had some times in my life where I'm just like, I'm the depression stays outside of the TV box.
Mm,
Okay, like I need the depression's outside and the nice story that ends well for everyone is in there. I'm gonna watch it.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be yeah, that's it. Is it so is that I feel like I'm the opposite a little bit. It's like when I'm in a depressed mood. I mean, sometimes I will say this movie when I was like just last night, couldn't have come at a better time. Like
Mm.
just even the idea of just, I think it was my birthday, like I don't want to say it specifically on pod, but sometimes within the last couple of weeks. So,
Mm.
getting older, everything
Well,
else, like last
belated happy birthday to you.
thank you. Yeah, but so this was like a tremendous. And then just even seeing, yeah, Banderas from my one of my favorite movies as a kid, in The Mask of Zorro. But then Ray Winstone, he's in the movie. Um, I think probably his best movie is called Sexy Beast, which is a black comedy crime film directed by Jonathan Glazer about a retired criminal visited by a sociopathic gangster played by Ben Kingsley, who demands that he take part in a bank robbery in London. And so,
Mm.
thematically, it's kind of interestingly similar to this one in that, like, he's trying to be sort of retired, but then Ben Kingsley is basically as scary in that movie as the wolf in this one. He's like
Mm.
trying to come back and saying like, "You got to come help me rob this bank," because he was a former criminal and all that. Strikes surprisingly similar themes.
Cool.
So
That sounds interesting.
yeah, but yeah, the cast on this: Ray Winstone, Olivia Colman, John Mulaney. Shout out him as that he was what was his
Jack Horner.
Big Jack Horner, yeah,
Yeah.
the Baker's dozen.
He's so funny in that as well. And the writing for Jack Horner is also amazing. Like
Yeah.
it's just the smallest and the biggest cruelties. Like even
Mhm.
just asking one of his baker's dozen, "You're not chatty, are you?" Like
Yeah.
because I will only save your life if you promise you will not annoy me.
Yeah.
No matter how useful you may be, you will die here on this cliff
Yeah.
unless you can assure me that you're not annoying. So fucking wild,
Yeah.
but it's
I
so
was
fun.
dying with him and the ethical bug.
Oh
Shout out
yeah.
the ethical bug, who's Jimmy Stewart, right? It's just Jimmy
Mm,
Stewart. I don't know if you're a big Jimmy Stewart fan. It's a Wonderful Life.
mm.
Um,
You say many names, and I know very few
it's
of
no
them.
it's no
I'm
worries. So that was a thing of like why this movie is specifically for me. Like probably the only celebrity impression I can do is like Jimmy Stewart. So the bug is just doing a Jimmy Stewart. It's from It's a Wonderful Life in
Mm.
Vertigo, and he's like this old actor that was a big star in like the 40s and 50s. But I was like this movie came out in 2022. I was like
Mm.
I was so it was like another thing of just I was so pleased by it because I was like this is made for someone who either like not I mean it's made for everybody, but like whoever decided to put a Jimmy Stewart impression in a
Mm.
movie 80 years after Jimmy Stewart was a big star is like I don't know what the hell they're doing, but like I was just laughing the whole time with the ethical bug. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't do that now. You see, no, it's the conscience, and it's tremendous.
Unethical.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And he loses faith in him. It's just like,
Mm. Yes, the fact that he literally has a breakdown saying you're a monster, you can't be fixed. I'm leaving. Because there was like
yeah,
with storytelling conventions when there's a force of good, placed on the shoulder of a force of evil, an angel on a shoulder, you sort of expect them to be like, maybe that there is a change coming at all, there, but no, Jack Horner does not change, and I'm glad for that.
Yeah, it was yeah, I was expecting him to sort of have the moment too, but I'm glad he didn't. It was like a very satisfying ending, like because I think you had enough of that in like the Goldilocks,
Yes, yes.
which I'm glad they did that whole arc. And yeah, the Goldilocks, I mean, Kitty Soft, like yeah, all the sort of the main people just had the just
Yeah,
yeah, just had such wonderful
the
arcs.
villains slash antagonists, they all sort of represent a different outcome, I suppose.
Mhm.
There's a villain that you defeat. There's a villain that you don't need to defeat if you fulfill some other purpose, and then there is sort of the antagonist villain that is not really a villain at all in Goldie and the Bears, sort of a misguided antagonist as well. So it's just like that. You have these three sort of opposing things. And it's a crowded movie, but it doesn't feel crowded. It
Mhm.
feels like clear storylines for all of the antagonists and the main characters as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was so of the tropes like to go like into a little bit of the movie history of it. One of the reasons I loved it so much is I think this did something new with like the action Western genre that I don't know if I've seen, but that like I was so it felt like a movie where like they had like a U level understanding of like sort of the movie history. I mean that like complimentary of like the movie history of the genre that they were doing in a way that like it made me think about it like one of your videos because like I read on the Wikipedia afterwards and some of the other stuff that they were very influenced by spaghetti Western films like The Good, the Bad, and
Hmm.
the Ugly, which I haven't seen that particular movie. I don't know if I saw a ton of other. That's like one of the big ones I haven't seen. I don't know if I would have gone like spaghetti Western, but in terms of like classic traditional Western, like history of movie stuff, like the action movie, like modern action movies came out of a lot of the Western stuff. And there were action movies like The Seahawk and other like swashbuckly stuff, but like
Hmm.
the there was a um like a genre of movies, like Shane or The Searchers or a lot of like sort of the classic canon of westerns. Like the typical story is like a lot of it, you know, like the typical trope is like the retired or the want to retire like gunfighter. Like it's like you
Hmm.
know he's been violent, he's been basically Puss in Boots, he's been like the guy, but it's like
Hmm.
you know, it Puss in Boots, you know, it opens with him sort of like doing this lovely action scene, and he's like a hero, and then like, but in a lot of the westerns, they're starting out as like, you know, it's like, oh, I just want to like, I'm done with killing, or I'm done with being a marshal, and I want to just go out and retire. Like, I don't want to be this thing I want to have to do. But
Yeah.
the trope for basically every one of those movies is that you can't do that. It's like you can't
Hmm.
actually retire, and so like the Shane and the Searchers, like the Searchers is making this, which I highly recommend. It's making like this beautiful commentary on like um, sort of racism in America and like the death of a particular type of dude, saying that like there's just not space for sort of like racist settlers anymore in America, and like those people can never really have a family. And then Shane is like, you can't, you know, you basically can't get away, you can't run away from your nature,
Hmm.
and that is like such a trope in like westerns, and I think like in even action movies, and I think the first like action movie to take that and subvert it. In my thought, and only I've ever done it with like friendship was Lethal Weapon, where there's like very self-consciously referencing at the end like you could sort of come back from being this type of Mel Gibson in the movie is like this like guy way out on the edge and he's like lost his wife and suicidal and all that, and then his friendship with Danny Glover sort of brings him back from the edge of being like this retired like having to be like this violent self-hating guy.
Hmm.
But I don't know that I've seen like in this movie that happening as explicitly in a relationship of like, you know, of saying like it's not like as like a romance. Maybe I'm wrong
Hmm.
and maybe there's been other things, but like just in terms of like bringing something novel to the genre trope after 80 years, you know, 80, 70, 80 years of doing like westerns and action movies. Like I don't know that I've specifically seen one that's like now you need a friend, and you like, you can sort of be brought back from being this like sort of lonely badass, like
Hmm.
by way of a relationship, and that can be sort of a thing that you do,
Hmm.
which I thought was beautiful. I don't know. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, Puss is running from his nature, but he's been doing it all his life without realizing,
mm,
in the way that he has lived, sort of playing a part, wearing a mask.
mhm,
He sings his song about being fearless and never being touched by a blade and I will never die and all of these
yeah,
things that we all know not to be true. So he has been living in denial, he's been living a lie, and then when faced with the truth, he just starts living a different lie instead.
yeah,
And yeah, he can't run at the end of the day from his mortality, but also his vulnerability, his desire and need for connection with other people. But it gets, I just love themes of that because it gets painful before it gets good.
yeah,
When he starts like opening up, because then he begins to believe in himself and others begin to believe in him as well. And then of course when um his old fears rear their ugly heads once more, he betrays them essentially, even though it all works out in the end. And I just think that's such a satisfying internal journey for an action hero to take. And I just love that, an action hero with heart.
yeah, yeah. That's a great point. Of like, yeah, even just the exploration of the yeah, of him having run away from it sort of his whole time, which they kind of hint at in some of these other movies like Shane or The Searchers or whatever. It's like, but it's like a thing of like the Searchers. It's like there's a famous scene at the end where it's like he can't come, like the guy who's like the badass can't be in the house. It's like you can either be sort of domesticated
Hmm.
or like part of a family and have a family, or you can you can be sort of this like ultimate badass.
Yeah.
Which actually is, I don't know if you're a classics fan, that's an idea that goes back all the way to the Iliad.
Hmm.
Throwing out my, there's a great scene in the Iliad where that's kind of the central tension of the Iliad is like Achilles is deciding whether or not he wants to have what the Greeks called kleos or not, which is like glory. And it's like, does he live this glorious life known to be where he's like known as the greatest warrior ever, becoming Achilles, but he dies early, or does he like have a sort of happy, satisfying, like
Yeah.
um, not necessarily satisfying, but like domestic life where he's not known as anybody. He doesn't become like Achilles, the greatest of all warriors, which is
I feel
uh,
that there's something so inherently like masculine about that sort of like, and yes, there's
yeah,
always themes for women as well, whether or not you can have it all, but the thing that you're supposed to choose as a woman is the domestic, not the glory.
mm,
So it is truly a mirror of like what is expected of women. A different thing that isn't right for all men is expected of men, so it's
yeah.
yeah.
It's a prison for us, though. I don't want to. Who
Yeah.
wants the glory? Like, it's like I thought it was so beautiful. To your point about how they tie everything together, it's like even like the thing that helps them, that beats them against, or that helps them beat the enemy at the end. It's like, and the writing in this movie is just so tremendous. Is like he does
Hmm.
it with her dagger, with Errol Gatito.
Yes, that he's able to fight back against. Oh,
Yeah,
I love that there is so much story, like you said, in the fighting scenes as well. Because even like antagonists, you can tell that they are fighting for what they want to achieve, and then the symbolism of him being able to stand up against death because he has Kitty's blade with him. And I think there's a lot of symbolism as well as the blades being dropped and like the line "pick it up" being
mhm,
repeated so much as well. Whether it's his agency, his purpose, his bravery that he's been told to like get back in the fight, and then because
mhm.
he runs the first time he gets told to pick it up, he runs,
Yeah.
it's just so cool. I love it so much.
I certainly talk about phallic imagery a lot on my channel. I didn't like, you could certainly, every time there's a male character in here that's like being told to pick up his sword and, be strong again, you could certainly throw that
Yeah,
into it, I think.
yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, that's I don't know that the movie was, it's kind of just hard, like it's a sword. It's kind of hard to avoid
Yeah,
those
yeah.
metaphors, but you know, it's
We do love to think of swords as dicks, but
Swords and
we
guns.
don't have to get phallic and Freudian about the kids movie. We can if you want to, but we don't have to.
I mean, I honestly think it's like more. It's like with many of the I think the best kids movies. I think it's really an adult movie wrapped up in a kids movie.
Yeah.
So I think like, I don't know that they were probably explicitly doing it like the way something like just made a podcast on Blue Steel. Like that movie is like just like the special feature on that just opens up with this lady saying the female dick has always been a source of tension for blah 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 blah. And it's talking about like gender relations in the cops.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's given that so many of the old westerns and action movies were doing that. I think it's probably hard to avoid the comparisons too much. But yeah, I think it's just it's another thing of like just the themes of just being a extremely well written movie, I guess,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, there is always, and you hear that when you listen to interviews with directors, and if there is an intelligent interviewer, they might have sort of caught on to details that weren't at the forefront of the director's mind when they directed the movie, and then it's just like, I didn't do that on purpose. But yes, I can totally see how that and I think there will always be sort of the explicitly intended, and then there will be whatever life the movie has outside of the director's intentions as well, because you could put so much of your own experience into this, because I mean, Puss is dealing with anxiety attacks, and you could have it be anxiety, you could have it be specifically PTSD as well. So with my own mental health, I relate a lot to the shit that he's going throughout this movie. So it's just great to see. Very emotional as well. It's
my
moving.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I seriously, there's probably 7 or 8 scenes where I just started crying. I was just sitting there just like that. Just when he has the panic attack and dog comforts him, and it's like, man, that just that was actually one of the things that sort of probably got me on the journey to not to get too confessional here, but like to like doing my channel. And this was like years ago, but it was just sort of like during COVID, we had been pretty locked down, and like when I'd started like I was in a former relationship, we'd been pretty locked down, and it was I started having like panic attacks like probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I couldn't figure. It never happened to me, and so I couldn't necessarily figure it out. And
the first time it happens, you think the world is ending, because it's like,
oh my goodness,
yeah,
miserable.
Yeah, no, but like it's like I've also had like migraines and stuff like that. First time I had a migraine, I thought I was dying. First time I had a panic attack, I thought I was dying, because I was just like, something is very wrong right now, and that it has to be, I'm dying.
Yeah,
because you've got no frame of reference for it. It's not normal for you then. You can get used to it. But the first time is so completely disarming.
Yeah. I had him driving, and I had him a couple times at work on like doing presentations.
Oh, driving is not a good place to be having panic attacks.
No, it's not.
That is rough. I'm sorry to hear that. That is is like
this is open and honest time, right?
Yeah.
But I thought like the way that it portrayed this one of just like he had started running, and like even like how sweet Perito was, sort of recognizing it,
and he wanted to be a therapy dog as well.
Yeah, which he is now. Yes, I feel like
he's certified.
Yeah, great. Yeah. I love it. Also, very classic character. I mean, it's like the old, just certainly I imagine the animated movies, but that character. I mean, I was even watching. This movie has aged very poorly in terms of like the casting of it, because the 2 Indian guys in the movie are played by Eduardo Cianelli and I can't remember, Sam Jaffe, and they're playing like Indian people from like the country India. But the movie Gunga Din actually I watched recently this week, and Gunga Din is like there's like 3 dudes in the lead, and it's like kind of a swashbuckling action movie. It was the movie, I don't know if you've seen Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, like the second one. It's like all based on this one from the 30s, where these British people, and to your point about like the British people making the I was laughing at that speech too about like, oh, we
Yeah.
don't we don't we treat everyone whatever. But
Yes.
because I
Gonna
just watched Gun
defend the rights of all men. And it's just like, sure.
yeah, because I was just watching Gunga Din where it's like it's these three British guys in colonial India, which at that point was
Yeah.
still, I think it was pre 1947. I think it was still
Mm.
British. But even like yeah, Perito sort of being like that kind of like um sort of third character that did it, I quite loved.
Yes,
But yeah,
he's such a wonderful counterpoint to, because I think both Kitty and Puss fall into the outlaw archetype.
mhm,
And Perito is essentially the archetype of the innocent, where it's
mhm,
like he doesn't know how bad the things that have happened to him truly are because he doesn't have a worldly enough outlook on it. So he is naive, but that naivete sort of protects him from the pain that would come from realizing what truly went down. Like the story with him getting thrown in the river as well. It's just like, oh, the first time I saw that, I wept because I was just like, he doesn't even know. He
yeah,
doesn't even know. So he's so good as a counterpoint to Puss and Kitty.
yeah, tremendous. Ever the voice acting, I mean Harvey Guillen so well. I mean everybody in the movie does
Yes.
so well. The on the panic attack thing, I think it was kind of a similar, honestly, that was one of the reasons I think I was connecting with it so strongly. Is like it was kind of a similar realization. Is like, well, yeah, I guess I am gonna die. Because it probably 4 or 5 years ago, I guess I would have been just about 30
Hmm.
and probably had recently turned 30. And I was just like, yeah, I will die at some point, like we all we all die. So I should probably
30 feels big. I turned 30 this year,
mm,
and there's something about, because you get told, oh, the 20s are the best years of your life, and I'm just like, well, if that's true,
yeah.
it's downhill, and then it's downhillier from there, I guess, because it's like I spent a lot of my 20s miserable. So I've decided that it's gonna get better and better and better from there on.
Nice.
But there is something just about the 30 that makes you think that your life is over.
Yeah.
And I can speak specifically as a woman as well, like, because you get told if you're 26 or above that, well, you're done for because your youth is your currency.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like specifically womanly anxieties about turning 30 as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Guys who
But
are much older putting their filter for like only 29 and below or something like
uh
that. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah. When you say that, it's another thing I really really loved about it was sort of the reveal that it was also Kitty who left him at the altar as well. I thought that was
Mm.
like a um just another great twist on it. And her
Yeah.
character just in general, I think is like so um it's like I'm always like um I get a little there is like a certain amount of like to the only extent that I think I feel like I almost not dislike like trope analysis or whatever,
Mm.
but sometimes where I can get frustrated with it too much is um like when like it's I think it's perfectly valid to have a movie about like a guy having panic attacks. I hope especially right as a guy who has had panic
Mm-hmm.
attacks. But like the problem right is like in the context of society like you don't need 99 movies about that and zero movies about women having panic attacks or whatever. So like
Yeah.
I can definitely get on any individual movie just sort of being frustrated about a um like a character that is a like a sort of like the typical like like romantic interest to the male lead, not having too
Mm.
much of a story. But one thing I
Yeah.
thought I really appreciate about this was that she had the perfect amount of story where it wasn't
Mm.
like I thought it would have been a different movie and maybe a better just a different movie if she would have been sort of more of a equivalently weighted towards Antonio turns Puss in Boots. But I think like I don't know. I thought they just matched it perfectly in terms of like it was more his story,
Yeah.
but she did have her own characterization, I guess, which I really
Yes.
appreciated.
Yeah, and she
Yeah,
has her agency as well.
yeah,
The fact that they're saying that she also did not show up for the man that Puss used to be. That does a lot in terms of just giving her the agency, not having her being like waiting around for him as well. But yeah, I think that sort of cat thief, femme fatale type thing, it is tricky to do in a way that isn't sort of trite and eye-rolly. So in the beginning, I was just like, Kitty, what are you gonna be? What are you gonna be? And then she has a lot of heart as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then even I keep trying to make a point about the panic attack, but going off in different directions. But I think it was about just sort of like, it's just like facing your own death. It's like the facing your own death and the choice to tie it in. I told you I'm just going to be gushing about this movie for like 2 hours, but like, I mean, it's just like, I don't know.
Another member of the people who talk about and think about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish too much.
Literally, you warned me about this, but thank you. I mean, it's I share your thing, by the way, about the 20s versus the 30s. I don't think the 30s have to be. I mean, certainly, I don't think mine. I think mine have been, I think better than my 20s for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's maybe they'll make an animated movie about that. Do you think they'll make another Puss in Boots? I can't decide. I can't know if I hope they do or if they don't.
I mean, they were sailing off at the end to go back to fucking Shrekland or whatever. Yeah. And I'm not a Shrek fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, well, some of them are good, and I think I recently watched the one with Arthur or whatever, because a friend wanted to see it for their birthday, and I was just, if I don't like a movie, I'm a bit of a complainer, but I will point out things that I don't. In that movie, the king is dying, Frog King is dying, and on his deathbed, he talks to Shrek instead of his daughter, but about what Shrek needs to do. And I was just sitting there like, Mr. Frog, your daughter is right there. Do you want to say anything before you... Oh, no, he's dead. He's dead. Because I was just like, talk about sidelining female characters. Like, that movie's like, Fiona's not good in that movie because of like... It's just Shrek making a bunch of decisions for everyone involved. Because he's just like, I'm going to give up the throne. I'm just like, hold on. Have we had a conversation with Fiona if she wants the throne or not? Maybe. Like, it's just not aged well in terms of like agency for female characters. But I think the earlier ones are better.
Yeah.
I think.
It's been, I remember those were like one of the first animated movies I watched as a kid. I remember because they came out probably when I was like 10 or 11, maybe 9 or 10. I remember when I was in 6th grade, we did like a Shrek musical theater thing. Like, and I was like, I can't remember who I was. I wasn't Shrek, but we did like the end of the school year performance, which was a lot of fun.
That's very fun.
Yeah. I remember it was just big for the time. Like, I think we did, it was like Smash Mouth and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the soundtracks are major. Like, the sync bill for the Shrek movies must be fucking massive, because there's just everything in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I liked both scores and honestly both movies. This was regarded, also I was reading and watching on the featurette for the Seahawk, to be this guy, Eric Wilhelm or William Korngold? Eric Wolfgang Korngold. I think this is regarded as his best score.
That's a name. That's a name and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, he is the one that allegedly, because I don't know if I can legally say this, but I think allegedly John Williams took a lot of stuff from like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Harry Potter.
Oh.
Like, he's known for kind of like being a little bit
sticky fingers.
Yeah, with some of his like musical themes, and I think a lot of a fair amount he borrowed allegedly, let's say from Eric Korngold.
Oh yeah, I mean, music is one of those things where, because I studied music,
That's cool.
music, sound engineering and music production. I'm not a producer. Nice. But what I started writing was song lyrics, so that's why and then poetry, and then like stories and stuff like that, because it's storytelling everything. but there is a sort of musical anxiety, like when there's a melody in your head and she's like, yeah, I made that up. And then you're just like, I'm so familiar with it at this point. Did I really make that up? But I don't think that's what's going on right there if he's getting sticky fingered with someone else's thing. But there's a lot of borrowing in music and in art in general. But it's important that you're paying homage, not stealing.
Yeah. I think it's yeah. I generally don't mind it as much. Like, because I think it's like I don't know, movies do that so much that you know, it's just always nice to see, especially when something is transposed, I guess, for me,
Yeah.
and like seeing the references and stuff, um, just as like a nerd for it.
You must be able to pick out so many references then. With like, because I know like a couple of like, because I especially with animation stuff, I know like the Akira slide, like that's like on the
Yeah.
motorcycle,
Okay.
like that's one where I would just like, aha, you did that. Um, but I don't know if I could point out any other like, oh, that's a reference to that, and
Mhm.
that's a reference to that.
It depends. You can see it more in the 70s. Like a lot of the stuff in the 70s, they were like just ripping off like old, like, because they were like very young
Yeah,
directors, like just like, oh, we love Hitchcock so much doing it. And it's a
yeah.
little bit harder now, to see a lot of the direct inspiration. But then it's
Uh-huh.
like, you know, to the extent I'm neurodivergent and like whatever else, it's like it is a problem sometimes. You know, just like
What? The guy who watches a movie a day isn't
now,
neurotypical?
now you sound like my therapist. Yeah. I was talking with him. I was like, I feel like I'm probably more neurodivergent than we've talked about. He's like, oh, why do you think that? I was like, well, you know, it's like I do these podcasts and I can never tell. Like, did that person like me? Did they have a good time? Did I talk too much? Did I ask questions? Did all this? It's actually been interesting listening back to a lot of the podcast. Um, Shout out any people if you think you're neurodivergent at all, maybe start a podcast and
Yeah.
record it, because then you kind of just get to hear your conversations and play them back and like. But then I realized just the act of even doing that and thinking about it like
Mm.
that is probably somewhere on the spectrum type of thing. I'm just like,
I'm I'm vain. So I listen back to my videos being like, oh, she's so smart.
yeah,
Oh, she is so smart.
you got
Oh,
to be your
oh,
own
look.
fan, you
Yeah,
know?
I'm my own biggest fan, but I think with like I think that is probably how I would approach listening back to the podcast as well, because I know I'm a people person. I know I'm not my brain isn't great, but
Mm.
that's the store-bought stuff that you
What
get
do you
from
mean your
having
your brain isn't great? Your brain
it's
seems fine.
well it
Well,
depends on the day. It depends
okay,
on the day.
I get you.
But like I always feel better around people.
Mm.
So I'm never like worrying about like if some I don't worry about whether or not people like me because it's like it's that's their business and I like me. Like
I love
it's
that
like yeah.
confidence.
Yeah, that takes time as well because when I was in uni, I was trying to make friends in uni. I went to uni in London and I went there by myself, like moved countries on my own. And that was a big growing experience. And I made my friends there. And after you just start making friends from scratch as an adult, you're just like, everyone's just
Mm.
worrying about themselves mostly.
Yeah,
And I can attest to that. I think about me all the
yeah.
time. I don't think about anything else.
Well, how does that work with like being a DM then? Because like, are you thinking like, well, I'm enjoying this campaign, but you seem so like
Mm.
very sensitive to player needs and player like wanting to make sure the players
I
have a good time.
well, I have a bit of a rule about closed mouths don't get fed. So unless people communicate that there is an issue or there is a room for improvement, I will go about my day
Mm.
because I have a list of things that I think about for improving, but that comes from a sense of self-improvement.
Mm.
Of course, how I run the game, how good I am at improvising, how good I am at giving everyone their spotlight. All of these are, yes, social skills and game skills, and they benefit other people, but they come from a desire for me to be better and to treat people well, because that's the person I want to be. So yes, I'm worried about myself, but that includes how I am in relation to other people. So yes, I am selfish and vain, but I have a sense of community as well.
How very modern.
Yes.
I like that. That's cool. Um, I guess in terms of so since we got on the DMing topic,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever used like any film stuff as like direct inspiration for a campaign or encounter or anything like this? I guess because I'm curious about like this idea. So if we're gonna do this campaign, which I hope you're serious about that, I'd love to. I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably get my cowboy hat and I'll probably play. I'd like to play probably just the old Western archetype, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
of just like the gunslinger on his last days. Maybe
Yes.
I'll do a modern spin of having panic attacks, or maybe if we're doing
Mm.
like I'll be like a crossbowman or whatever the
Yeah, yeah.
fastest crossbowman in the
Yeah.
fantasy West. Um,
What is
but yeah,
it? Lucky Luke who could shoot his shadow? Was it like the cartoon of there was a Lucky
I don't
Luke
know.
character? Yeah. Maybe I don't know, because sometimes I don't know what's a universal reference, what's a
Mm,
European reference, what's a Norwegian reference. So I'm just like, yeah, this
yeah,
thing that everyone knows about, and then I just get a huh
I think the
back.
only Norwegian reference I know two Norwegian references actually. So
Mm-hmm.
I can say oh that's very Carl Ove Nosgard of you, but that's the only that author or
Mm.
whatever. I think
Yeah.
I literally have never read a single word of his. I just know he's a Norwegian author.
Mm.
But then my favorite hockey player, I'm a big hockey guy, is Matt Zuccarello, who's a
Oh yeah,
Norwegian.
he's I know about him.
Yeah,
We all get to know about him because every time there's like worlds or Olympics and stuff like that, and then they're just like, well, of course Zuccarello couldn't come because he's doing more important stuff, so they
yeah,
talk about him, even if he doesn't appear.
I love him.
Um,
The
yeah.
Nor Over here, I don't know if he's over there, if he's called that, but over here, he was speaking of fantasy, he's called the Norwegian Hobbit Wizard. At least, that was like his nickname. Which I guess that's like a fantasy class, you know? Yeah.
Yes. Context, please. Where does this nickname come from?
Do you want to watch about an hour of Matt Zuccarello? Are you a hockey fan? Do
Mm,
you want to watch
mm,
an hour of his highlights?
mm, mm,
No, probably not.
mm,
Okay.
mm, mm-hmm. Is
What?
it just because he's so good that it's magic?
Yes, and he's specifically good in like a magical way. So he shouldn't be good at hockey. Like it's not. It doesn't make sense that he's as good as he is at all. He's my
Mm-hmm.
all-time favorite because I'm a New York Ranger fan. He was with the Rangers. He came up with the Rangers. Was with them for many years. It does not make sense how he's good because he's 5'7", which for a hockey player is maybe he's even 5'6". Honestly, they lie about their heights, but
Yeah,
he's like maybe 160 pounds,
that's
170.
very very unique for men to be lying about. Good on you, hockey
Yeah, right.
players.
Yeah,
Way to be different, hockey man. Come on
yeah,
now.
yeah. He's pretty short. But he's also so normally it's like there have been very successful short players in the NHL, especially now, but they're generally like really fast. It's like they're like little mice, they're like doing the
Yeah.
Puss in Boots style, just darting. He's
Mm-hmm.
one of the slowest players in the league. He is just he's like they track the speed of the players now. He's like literally one of the slowest guys in the league.
So
And
what does he do successfully?
well,
Like,
that's why
what's
he's
his strength then? Because he just casts spells with
basically he
his hockey stick.
yes, and like in hockey, you're supposed to use like a stick that's like a little bit. A lot of the like, especially if you're a forward, use a stick that's quite a bit shorter than you, um,
Uh-huh.
because it's better for you have more control for like stick handling. But it's like
Yeah.
it's not as good for defensively. But Zuccarello uses like a stick that's like twice as big as him, which like if again, it's hard to explain to someone who hasn't played hockey, I guess, or like if you're out there, but like it's just like it's so hard to do and it doesn't make any sense why a
Yeah.
four but he does it because he's like very like it just surprises so that's like he's trickery, he's like a wizard. It's like a wizard is a good name, but I guess RPG wise he'd be more like a thief or a bard
Mm.
probably.
You can get a
Yeah,
trickery domain cleric.
okay,
So that, but then clerics are a little on the religious side. So who does he pray
yeah,
to get that tricky stick to do its trick?
yeah,
Something to think about.
that's a good question. I don't, yeah, I don't but literally he's he's like and this is where, yeah, I'm thinking my reference for all this is like second edition. I remember when third edition D&D came out, Neverwinter Nights, I was like, I don't want to learn this, you know, because I was
Yeah.
used to playing all the second edition games or whatever. But yeah, he's just a wizard. He tricks guys, and like they think that he's like shorter than he is, so they try and go around him, but he uses like the long stick to poke him. And then he's just smarter than everyone else. He doesn't seem like a very smart guy in his everyday life. Not to insult you, Mats, if you're listening to this out there. But like,
every now and then he goes, "Look over there," and the team just turns.
yeah, well, like literally, and he'll like drop. He just knows how to like he'll drop his shoulder, and then like he'll send three guys flying because they think he's going one way, and then he'll just like loft a pass. And yeah, I don't know, but he's the Norwegian Hobbit wizard. And
I wonder if he wants to play D&D.
I would love to play D&D with him.
Maybe we should say something really controversial about him so that people send the podcast to him, and then at the end we can just like, so Matt, if you want to be a real wizard, contact me.
I don't endorse this if she's about to say anything.
No,
but he is loved by all of his teammates. I mean, maybe that's like, well, I was thinking Bard or something, maybe, because like everyone, like, there's like a video of like the best player in the Rangers was this Swedish goalie who's his best friend, and he's
boo,
just like,
Sweden.
well,
boo.
Yeah,
I have to. The king will come for me if I don't. It's literally just a knee-jerk reaction.
This is now a pro-Norway nationalist podcast.
Norge, woo!
All hail Magnus Carlsen.
Oh yes, we have him too.
Yeah, I guess that's the third reference I know. Yeah, shout out Magnus.
And the pop group, Aha, Take on Me.
Oh, are they Norwegian?
Yes,
I did not
Norway.
know that.
Mm-hmm.
That is
I don't. We have barely anything else. We win a lot of Winter Olympic medals.
You do,
but that's There's a saying about Norwegians being born with skis on their feet, which just sounds painful.
Yeah.
For at least one person involved.
Yeah. Gosh, I hope not. Yeah.
Yeah.
That does sound bad.
But we love winter. We love snow. Yeah. And we love going faster than everyone else on the snow.
Yeah. Gosh, now I'm going to have to send you, I'm going to make a note to send you some, there is like, because now that you're cast, he has cast, about the wizard thing, he has cast like stuff, like what's, again, I'm dating my knowledge here. I guess he would cast Hold Person, is like, sometimes Zuccarello does that. Because he had this move, he was really good at the end of hockey games, there's a shootout where it's like you take turns, like, shooting like one-on-one with the other goalie to like if the game's tied and no one wins. And he was like he's been one of the best in history at that, because he's just so tricky and deceptive. But he had this one move that he did where he would just go in and not move. Like he just would glide in. Like, it's so weird to explain, but he would just like glide in like his, like, they called it like, some people called it like the controller disconnected move, because it's like your controller disconnected in a game and your character just like kept going like that.
Was it T-posing at the same time?
Yeah.
That would be lovely. That would be a power move. I want to see that.
Yeah.
Another suggestion for you, Matt. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm definitely Matt Zuccarello shoots. Send her Matt Zuccarello shootout goal. This is great. Yeah, but he would just, and then he would just flick his wrist and then he'd score. Just like put it right over the goalie, and the goalie would just get stunned by it, like he was casting a hold spell or something. So
hockey is cool though. It's one of those sexier sports, because like obviously Europeans are obsessed with football, and I have to say the thing, real football, like the act where you actually use your feet a little bit more.
Post-art.
Yeah, I mean, your thing looks cool too. I went to a baseball game once in New York.
Exciting. Did you like it?
It was very cold.
Yankees or Mets?
Yankees.
Okay.
I have a Yankees hat as well from New York from ages ago.
Team. That's my favorite team.
Yeah. But it was cold, so the others wanted to leave, and I was just like, I'm not staying here by myself, because I was 18, so I was just like, no, maybe not staying alone somewhere in New York by myself. But hockey is a cool sport, and I don't know, it's something about like the physicality. Any sport that's a little bit like rough and tumble is like makes me go, hot. Because
Nice.
football, they just fall over for no goddamn reason. Women's football is better because they'll actually like keep running without the theatrics. Because it's just like
Yeah.
if you wanted to do Shakespeare, go to the stage, not to the field.
Yeah, it's been a hard problem for soccer or European football, normal football
Mm-hmm.
to get
Yes, you got
yeah
it right on the third try.
normal football
Good.
I think to get popular in America because it's like just generally a big no-no here where it's like
Hmm.
if you do any type of
Yeah.
like trying to sell or stay down like it's like a big no-no
Yeah.
generally here in sports.
It's such yeah, such a detriment to the enjoyment of the sport, to be honest, because it's
Yeah,
fun. Otherwise, I played football for 10 years.
nice,
So yeah, I was a very sporty,
very cool.
like a lot. Yeah, and I did handball for like 6 or 7.
That's
Did
cool.
cross country skiing, ballet. Like I've done a lot of different things.
That's cool.
But I don't know what you call it in English, but in Norwegian you call it filming because you're throwing yourself down and like
Oh,
yeah, because you're acting. But I don't know if
that's
it's just
cool.
called acting or whatever in English.
Diving.
There's a lot of terms that don't translate for me because all of my knowledge of sports is in Norwegian.
I think over there in Europe, you guys, I think it's commonly called emulation, I think.
Hmm.
But a lot of time people call it diving is like
Hmm. Hmm.
um,
Yeah, yeah. Diving seems
yeah.
to.
You'll hear that like a chirp, like that's like a Northern American Canadian term for like, insulting someone on the ice or something, or like
Hmm.
heckling someone. But you hear, if someone is diving, it's like, oh, you going for a fucking swim there? Because like they'll even go like to that level of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a penalty specifically for fighting in hockey, isn't there? Roughing or whatever it's called.
You can fight. Yeah, you can fight. You get to fight for a little until it gets got down to the ice or if someone like is getting their ass beat too bad, they'll let you fight
Yeah.
for like a couple and you get 5 minutes.
Hmm.
And it's a lot of fun. I mean,
It's just really fast paced too. I think that's
yeah.
like, but that's the thing about handball that's good as well because it's very fast paced.
I don't think maybe this is again a neurodivergent thing. I don't know if I could do handball because I see the videos of the stickiness, like the sticky on the
Mm,
hands. I think that would kill me. I think that would give me a panic attack probably, just
I
with the way I
like
am
it.
about hands. You,
I liked it
it's the
because
opposite ends of the neurodivergent.
it it is it makes a really nice sound when you go
Mhm.
like pulling off the um what is it even called? It's like a tacky
Yeah.
resin thing that you put on it, and it's just you can make balls of it because you when it gets too dirty, it gets like it blackens. So you want fresh on it, so you just make a ball out of all of the sticky stuff off of the ball.
It seems so
Ah,
wild.
memories.
Yeah. Well, ladies out there, if you're near East Tennessee, I have played hockey my whole life. So, we have an endorsement from friend of the pod, now very good friend of the pod
Mm,
for hyping up hockey players, Millie Odegard.
yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
It
Did
is
you?
one of the sexiest sports, and I am an
Yes.
authority about this because I say so, because I have decided that I am the authority about sexy sports.
Awesome. Just don't smell the gear. The gear is some of the worst smelling.
Ugh,
Yeah.
yes, anything that you have to wear multiple times and potentially don't wash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not great.
The shin guards for football as well. I think that's kind of in the same vein because there's no really cleaning those either. So
Yeah.
after a hot day of playing football and you take those shin guards off, it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel gross.
For whatever reason, it's the gloves in hockey that are the worst. Like if you've ever smelled
Really?
yeah, the gloves just smell so like and there's no fixing them. It just immediately just whatever for whatever
I didn't
reason.
think hands would be the stinkiest.
I think it's because like you have like so you're wearing like shin pads and pants and a cup and shoulder pads, elbow pads, jersey, glove, and sometimes wrist
Mm,
pads even too. So I think like maybe all this a lot of the sweat like kind of pools down into it. I think.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So a
And
little marinade
yeah,
for
and I
the
think it's a lot of hockey players get very attached to their gloves and they don't replace them. So like they'll wear them with like holes in them. They'll wear them for years and years and years because it's like it's such a like an integral part of
yeah.
how you do your stick work. So they're like There's the most famous hockey player, Sidney Crosby. He has worn the same cup, I think, since he was 14, and he's now probably 38. So that's a different type of.
Is that an outside thought? Really, like, should he have shared this with us? Did we need to know about his cup's age?
It's yeah.
Or is it like a luck thing? Like a lot of athletes are very superstitious.
Oh yeah, they all have OCD. They're all neurodivergent. They all have OCD. It's just one of those things because they're generally also fairly boring. I think most athletes, they're both boring and interesting because they just do the thing right to get that level.
They're very singular when they get up to that level.
Yeah. So it's like they don't like the people who cover them. It's like the media and everything are always trying to provide human interest or whatever. So it's like they'll be like, oh, we haven't talked about Sidney Crosby's cup, I guess, and that's interesting. And so like, let's do a story on that. But to your point, it's like, well, maybe Sidney shouldn't have shared that with everybody.
Maybe Sidney should get some hobbies instead of talking about his cup.
He doesn't. He has zero hockey. He just is hockey, and that's it. He's famously boring.
Well,
yeah.
Sometimes it's like to get that good at something, I think it kind of has to be your life. You kind of have to be obsessed with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would kind of like to see, that might be an interesting story to do for Puss in Boots. I'd be curious about, because they don't necessarily explain like that aspect of it, which I think like I think about in hockey quite a bit of like, to be as good as Puss in Boots is, like, he is like just naturally, and it's like a fairy tale and everything else. But he, yeah, I mean, like that certainly like probably contributed. Like, I don't know if I've seen that story necessarily as much. Maybe I'm thinking in like an action movie where like you read that a lot about sports people, is that they are very lonely people because like they just had to, it's like, well, it's 4 hours a day shooting jump shots if you're a basketball player or something like that, or 6 hours a day. So they end up being very narrow, and they end up being like very lonely because there's not as many people like, who sort of understand that, I guess, a lot. But maybe for Puss in Boots 3.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he starts doing jump shots. Career change.
I feel like you're taking the piss out of me.
I would never do that to anyone because I'm a very nice person.
Yeah, I'm going to make a red flag for a podcast guest now. I want to put that for video.
Yeah, that's fine, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm trying to think I'm looking at my list of questions that I had written to ask you. I guess like, so, we talked about the balance a little bit of the characters in Puss in Boots of Salma Hayek and Antonio Banderas. So you mentioned earlier that I was trying to remember because you said a good line. It was like closed mouths don't get fed, I think. Very, very school marmy of you.
Yeah.
But is that like, so I guess, is that how you when you're writing, like, I guess like because I don't know anything about this, and so I'd be curious, like, as you're like, if you're building a campaign for like, let's say you're doing it for like 3 or 4 people, and it's like you've done again, damn, I should have written down the phrases you taught me in your lovely videos. See, I'm being very complimentary as opposed to you who are insulting my jump shot metaphor.
Yeah, literally.
But you had mentioned about like, so I think it's like, I was going to say patient zero, but it's like the zero session.
Session zero, yes.
Session zero, okay, yeah.
Very
patient
important.
Zero.
Yes.
Yeah. So patient zero, you've done, or patient zero, session zero, like,
yes.
It's when you introduce the characters and, you give them a little homework and you're trying to get them all set up to have like the first campaign. So I guess like between session 0 and session 1, like, do you generally have a sense of like who might be talking, who might not be talking, or like, I guess, how do you structure a story when you're doing the DMing, in terms of like building, like, well, what if you have a nice arc of like, someone's going to be a cowboy who's like a lone gunfighter who's like this, but then they don't want to talk. Like, does that impact
just a random example about someone who wants to play a cowboy? I think in general,
hey now,
just throwing something out there. Someone really cool who wants to play a cowboy, and I'm very excited to play.
I feel like I'm getting insulted again.
This is just how I am. So,
Okay.
I think in between like session 0 and session 1, I have a long list of questions that I have my players fill out, and I like to talk to them about what kind of story they want to tell with their character, because as the GM, you are the author of the general story, but I think a character arc is up to the player. It's not something that I enforce onto them. I have a player, for example, who has a daughter that he's estranged from. So the theme for his character is sort of reconciliation. And it's something that I take into account when I'm planning sort of quests around that character arc, because I will have the big plot, and then there's smaller plots that push the big plot along as well. And in terms of like everyone engaging who is interested in what, it's essentially, it is the easiest answer possible is talking to them, like asking them what are you interested in doing, what is your dynamic like. And of course, once you've played with people for a bit longer, you begin to know them as players as well as people. And I could tell from the tables that I've 2 tables of 4 players each, and because I know these people so well now, I know what the dynamic is going to be like. I have my team A and I have my team B. Team B is a bunch of chaotic they take longer to do everything. They love to dilly and dally. They're partial to the dally as well. And they love role play. And the other group is slightly more efficient. They love their role play as well. But are slightly more into like being... They're better in combat as well. They're the efficient group, and then they're the sort of chaotic group. So you get to know people, and then you get better at sort of determining from just talking to people as well. And then of course, if it's brand new players, it's a wait and see. It's a try and see process. And it's always good to ask players to sort of self-assess. And then if they're new, there's probably not necessarily any frame of reference for them to assess themselves. But I will, like, if someone doesn't want the spotlight, they don't need to have it, but someone needs to do something. So there's like the balance there, I guess.
Yeah. So are you preparing like little, like, I guess, like, I'm not gonna use a cowboy example. I'm shamed out of that. But I guess if someone was wanting to be a pretty princess, like, do you approach it like you have like certain beats that might happen, and if they don't hit those beats, like, I'm trying to think of, like, I guess putting myself in your shoes. It's like, okay, so someone's playing a princess, former princess character who's trying to get back to her throne, or like, her parents or whatever. So it's like, if they're going into a dungeon, it's like, but they're not necessarily talking. It's like, okay, well, if they go in this room, there might be like a ring or something that the princess might recognize from her old, is like that. But if she doesn't say anything, then like, you're like, okay, well, you don't recognize the ring, or does that like go maybe in a later session or something? Or I guess, like,
think
how
for really important things, I would sort of prompt it, and of course, the players need to meet you halfway. And if the player isn't really interested in exploring their backstory, but I haven't really experienced that. Most people are really interested in their own characters. I think that's people's number one thing that they're interested in, exploring the character that they've made. So I've not had the misfortune of a player who's just like completely, like, if you mention something from their backstory, they just sat there like, okay,
Hello, we're back. Millie just yelled at me and said that she couldn't stand it another minute if I went without wearing my cowboy hat. So I had to pause the podcast and do it. Definitely wasn't my headphones dying like what happened on
I had sent many aggressive emails about this, but I think the spam filter caught them because the amount of cussing that was in them, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Norwegian cussing too, which, you know,
yes,
was some shocking stuff.
Straight in the rubbish bin, said Gmail, and I feel very victimized by the spam filter today.
Now I'm kind of curious, so I'm going to Google live on the pod. What are some Norwegian idioms? Do you have any good Norwegian idioms? To take it as good fish, ata det for godfisk.
Mm-hmm.
Is that real? What does that mean?
To take it as the truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
To believe something said without doubting them is what this little.
Yes.
That's cool. To take it as good fish. So that means there's good fish and bad fish.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we export a lot of fish, so we know. Fun fact, I think, well, the internet can fact check me, but I think Norway's salmon export is why salmon sushi is as popular as it is today. Because I think we had a little salmon crusade where we went and convinced the Japanese that salmon wasn't bad fish; it was good fish.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I love salmon sushi. It's when I went to Sweden, and I know, you know, this is an anti-Sweden pod.
Sorry, I was buffering there for a second. I nearly
same.
They were about to knock down my door for not saying it.
I like the tube of whatever they had. The tube of it's like, it's not caviar, but it's like pureed fish or something that they just have everywhere.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, but I really loved all the fish stuff.
There is pureed caviar as well.
Yeah.
Very orange.
I'm looking at this. To step up in the salad, atrake I salatin?
Yeah, so to step in the salad. So, because like if you, I guess if you're growing salad, if you step on it, you're fucked. Because like, yeah, that's you're in the shit if you've stepped in the salad. Because surely you can't. Cool. If you've stepped on your salad, you can't harvest it or sell it or whatever. I'm not sure. I'm just.
Do you use these, or do people like? Because we say like step in shit, like, oh, he stepped in, you know, to messed up, or like, you know, he fucked it up. He ate shit. We say he ate shit, which is a little grosser.
Yes, I think it is like a little bit more common for older generations to go hard on the idioms and sayings, but there's definitely a use for them. Okay. Yeah.
That's cool. You say go ahead.
Someone wouldn't look at you weird if you said you've stepped in the salad. So.
What about Ugler i mossen? Ugler i mossen? Owls in the moss?
Yeah, owls in the moss. Something weird's afoot here. Like something weird is going on.
What is that one?
I have no idea why owls in your moss would be something weird going on.
Have you ever used that in a campaign? Like,
I mean, I run everything in English, so I really want to do like a character that is heavy on like translated idioms so that everyone's just like, what the fuck are you saying, bro?
Yeah. Like if you slip in, like you walking past a path, you see some owls in the moss. Like, I wonder, you know?
Yes. There's also like pigs in the forest.
Okay. Is it the same thing?
I know the reason for this one, because you used to pay tax as a farmer on how many animals you had. So some people would sneak their pigs into the forest, so they would have to pay less taxes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So having pigs in the forest means that you're shady dealings in business. Yeah.
I've only ever brought one animal into the forest, and it was in my high school biology class for, I don't know if I told the story in the pod, but I'm going to tell it to you just to you get an idea. East Tennessee. Well, I went to a really rural high school, 270 kid public high school, and it was which is like very small for the U.S., especially for a public school.
Some of them are wildly big.
Yeah, like the kids I went to college with, it's like, oh yeah, we had 2,000 people. It's like, that's just insane. Yeah, 1,000 people per grade or something.
It's too many.
Way too many. Yeah, I liked my school, but my friend, I think it was Dylan, hit this deer on the way to school, and he was like, he's like, instead of like, you know, just like with his truck, and he's like, instead of like getting rid of it, he's like, oh, I bet you Mr. Hurt would like this. Mr. Hurt was our biology and chemistry teacher, and Mr. Hurt did like it, and so we had like an hour and a half classes, block scheduling as they call it, and so we spent a whole class dragging a deer out into the woods that day, and nailing it down, like splaying it out and nailing it. This was probably 16, splaying it out and just nailing it down, and then putting a like metal grates over it, like a big grate, and wire over it. And we're like, Mr. Hurt was like, we're gonna watch it decompose. He's like, this is great. It's gonna be like a live biology.
Oh, okay.
Experiment.
So there was a point. It wasn't just for funsies that we're doing this.
He was a shout out, Mr. Hurt. He was a bit of a strange guy, so maybe, you know. Yeah. He had the demeanor of like a necromancer, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, in a way
it'd be an odd thing to walk in on, like nailing this deer down. Yeah, it was because we're just dragging it through a field on its like by its prongs or whatever. It was just wild, and the next day it was totally gone, like a bear or something, because there's a lot of bears around here have been like just completely got into it, or something and just ripped it apart and just drug it off. Maybe a mountain lion. Yeah, maybe we should have seen that coming. Yeah. Maybe like if there's big predators in the forest, then maybe
it's one of the saddest I've ever seen an adult man. Yeah.
My rotting animal corpse, how could they?
Yeah. Shout out, Mr. Hurt. Well, I think there's something weird about East Tennessee. Do you have any is there anything particularly cursed about Norway? Like, is there something that is there like a deep evil about Norway at all?
I think in our folklore we have a deep respect for the forests and the mountains. There's tales about mountain folk who will drag you down into the mountains so that you can never escape. There's
like dwarves and stuff.
Well, there's tailed creatures, like forest creatures. There's always something that's trying to lure you to your death. That is very central in like old folk tales. Like fiddle playing devils and shit like that as well.
That's cool. Do you include any of that in your campaigns and stuff?
Not really, because my campaigns started as a pre-written module, so that's something that the company Wizards of the Coast release, and then it was not great. So I just started adding to it to the point where it's just my own thing now, but it's set in a city. Which has its upsides and downsides. Like, you're able to give the players a headquarters, so they own a manor that I'm able to update as they go, because they're like sort of renovating it and redecorating it as well. So that's it feels like very much their home. So that's really nice. And you can have more reoccurring NPCs, so they can build more relationships compared to if they're on the road all the time. But of course, I can't be a tailed woman luring them into the forest, because the forest is kind of far away. Yeah.
Is it like Forgotten Realms or Faerun, or are they in Baldur's Gate?
Waterdeep.
Oh,
yes.
That's where I'm literally the game I'm playing, Eye of the Beholder. That's where it's set. Do they hang out with Kelvin Blackstaff?
No, there's a different Blackstaff now. Yeah, I think Kelvin might be dead. At this point.
It's the age of the game I'm playing, I guess. Yeah,
yes.
Because it's 92, I think.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love Waterdeep. Yeah, it's a good city. I mean, there's a lot that doesn't make sense in terms of population size and map size. It's supposed to be a couple of million people, and the map is relatively small for that. So, but I just close my eyes and pretend, because I'm not the one who made that up. So I'm just I don't care if your world building is bad. I'm just gonna add my stuff to it, because there's if you start trying to fix D&D lore, you will be working forever. I looked into some things for a character that owns, were you ever at the Yawning Portal? It's one of the most famous Waterdeep. Danan, the proprietor of that, don't look up his backstory. Don't look up the age of his wife. Don't do it.
Okay.
Because I've just been that is not canon in my world. That is not canon. Because
his wife's too old, I'm guessing.
Yeah, definitely that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Millie is very regressive. She's not Yeah, that's
she's too consenting. Why would he be with her? She's too old and at the same power level as him. There's no imbalance here. Why would we want that? So
there's definitely a lot of that in older movies too. I mean, the character, Jimmy Stewart character, the cricket. He has a movie called Broken Arrow, where not only is the lady he's dating like, so he's like a cowboy, and it's like actually one of the very first sympathetic portrayals of Native Americans in movies. So it's like attempting to be good. But the Native Americans are all played by white people, of course, and his like Native American princess wife is like very white and just in brown face, basically, which is bad. But she's also 16, and he's like 51 at that point. So it is wild to watch.
Wow, similar stuff to
yeah, definitely. In my canon, I'm always sort of a lot of these times in older movies, it's like you're mentally adding like many years to. It's like, well, that was the only actress that was available, I guess.
Yeah.
You know. But
yeah.
Thankfully, Seahawk didn't have that. She was, I think, well of age.
Yeah.
Seemed like it.
She seemed like it. She didn't like jump out at me as someone who was like, oh, that's a child.
Apparently, that was not his normal lady. His normal lady, I think, was supposed to be Olivia de Havilland, which I don't know if you saw my video on the heiress, but she speaking of neurodivergence, to tie it back, that's the video I made a video about her being like maybe the first like visibly neurodivergent character, like who's very sympathetically portrayed. She is autistic as hell in the movie The Heiress.
I think I watched that one. Yeah.
But I think she was Errol Flynn's like normal gal. I think she got big on the movies with him being a swashbuckling lady.
That's very cool. Yeah, I think like looking at older movies, for me as someone who hasn't got a lot of experience with them, it sort of gives me the same feeling in a smaller variation as when you look at like ancient graffiti and realize that people have always been people. Because I think we separate ourselves from history to an extent where it sort of alienates others. And yes, there are regressive parts of history and parts we should leave behind. But the thought that like people were so different back then, I think it really prevents us from learning from history in a lot of ways, because it's just like, oh, because they were old fashioned and they were stupid and they were unkind, and there's no way that we can make those mistakes because we're so much better than them. And it's just like, whoops, look at that, history repeating itself again. Yeah,
that's a great point. I totally agree with that. The I'd noticed there was a surprisingly woke moment in the in the Seahawk when I think it's an Errol Flynn says like when the Spanish guys are like berating him, I think for stealing their stuff, he's like, well, who'd you steal it from? Which is like a very modern, like, you know, because they stole it from like the Aztecs and the Native Americans, like all the gold.
Yeah. He said that to Maria as well about like the diamonds from India or like gems from India as well. It's just like, and he's like, what is a thief? And how did your country come by those and all of that stuff? So
that was pretty neat to see in 1940. I thought, you know, like for the time. Now again, and to your point, in like doing that in a movie in which like it's very like England are the good guys and England treats everyone the same when they're being England in 1940. You know, not so. It's kind of funny, but yeah. So, okay, so we were talking before the break about like designing for characters and writing in DMing. I guess so you're starting so you started I guess from a module from like a Dungeons and Dragons module, and then it's like you've sort of extended it. Yes. I guess like if you were to start a new one, like would you start from a module again, or are you just like, or would you?
No way.
No.
No way. I wanted to try it, and then I see why most experienced GMs don't do it.
Would you do the setting at all, or like?
I really love Waterdeep, and I've added so much lore to Waterdeep that I see myself playing in Waterdeep again, definitely.
Now I definitely want to play.
Yeah, it's like I've added my own like university because I have 2 artificers in like one in each group. And they're playing like arcane engineers, so they're like inventions,
very
and
steampunky.
but like magical instead of, so it's like
I'm
I
sorry,
don't know,
Millie.
crystals and stuff. So
sorry
yes,
for
you
being
can.
uncultured.
you can have a steampunk aesthetic for that, but they're slightly more on the like runes and crystals and glowy shit.
Okay. Now I'm gonna make fun of you for being Norwegian. You got to bring runes into everything, right?
Well,
Isn't that like a
yes.
Okay.
So I've added my own like university there, and like I made up all of the different subjects and stuff like that, and it's just so fun to add and expand upon existing stuff, and it is easier to do that. But I do have like my own homebrew setting that I'm working on, slow and steady. So eventually I want to run stuff there, or I want to run like shorter, more well-paced storylines. Because I think that would be fun as well, because like long-term campaigns, eventually I get a little creatively antsy with it, I think. But it's still enjoyable, of course. But the writer in me really goes like, but where is this plot going? Like, come on, we gotta get like step to it. It's time to get moving.
That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah. Is it like So, I forgot to say the board game Lords of Waterdeep, very good. Also, just like one of my favorite. I don't know if you ever played that one, but one of my favorite. It's not a RPG. It's just like more of a resource worker management. I think it is worker placement game, but they have all like the locations and everything, and it's like it's like political intrigue and a little bit, and you gotta place your things, but a lot of fun. But just it has like a beautiful map of Waterdeep, which I love. What's the most, have you witnessed a particular like very cinematic moment at a game table where it's like, oh, this should have been in a movie, like a story of like great, like, Puss in Boots, like, overcoming his panic attacks and accepting death. Like, is there something there that has particularly struck you in your GM career?
I mean, I have moments as a player that like could have been an action movie. I've been thrown at a dragon before, which is just I just need to put that out there. It's not that my character overcame anything by being thrown at a dragon, but I was playing a monk and I got thrown at a flying dragon, and
How did that happen?
The dragon started flying, and I was just like, huck me, and the barbarian did, and the DM allowed it. So it was fantastic. But I did end up because the dragon then came back down because I was like punching at it. It landed again, and
where'd you land on? Did you land on, or were you just punching it in midair?
I landed on it. Yeah.
Okay.
And there was another person on the dragon, not a friendly person. But also, like playing a monk is, if you ever get the chance to play a monk, do it. Well, if the GM is ready for you to do, as we say at my tables, monk shit. Sometimes when a monk player just asks, "Can I do this?" and I'm just like, yeah, monk shit, let's go. Yeah. So running, and monks are able to like run up walls. Cool. After a certain level. So I've ran like high up a wall and then like speared someone and then like dropped down with them and like landed on them to take less damage as well. So it's just like you get to do some really cool shit. But that's just the actiony cool stuff, visually cool stuff, even though it's not a visual game. But like the narrative stuff, I think one of my play characters, the one who has the daughter storyline, I've given him a ghost that's attached to him instead. A sort of stand-in daughter, because he is neglecting his real daughter. So there's this sort of reminder of a person that is attached to him and that needs his help to find their way back. And at one point she got sort of locked away, and he needed to go into a nightmare to get her back. And at the end of it, I love giving my players choices where it's like, if you do this one, there's no right or wrong, but if you do this one, you are regressing your story arc, and if you do that one, you're proceeding with exploring your theme in a way that will resolve. Because I definitely think there's room for us to be worse as well, if we want to. But he had to make this choice about like accepting her, and she's called Sorrow as well because she doesn't know her name, because she doesn't remember who she is, so she's just been nicknamed Sorrow. And he had to decide whether his desperation was going to let him kill her and be rid of her, or if he embraced her and began sort of like a healing journey. And I just like, a lot of people joke about TTRPGs as therapy, but it is sort of therapy for those characters, definitely. And I think those are the moments that really move me, when I can present a choice to a player character, to a player, where they sit and they can justify both, and that sometimes they have to do the hard thing to get the better ending, you know? And I think those are the things that really, really interest me. So it's probably not the most cinematic thing, but it has heart, and it has such a pivotal thing for that character. And I think that is really those moments that I chase while running games.
That's cool. You're making me with the monk stuff. Maybe I should just play like a Jackie Chan type character, or
I watched all of the Ip Man movies for my
Are they good? I've never seen them.
Yeah, I think they're really good.
Okay. What about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
I've not seen. I'm just Ip Man.
Just Ip Man. Okay.
Just Ip Man, because my ex-boyfriend is Hong Kong Chinese Canadian. So like those are like set in Hong Kong Cantonese movies. And those made me like absolutely fall in love with like Donnie Yen, because the way he fights as well. When he was in one of the John Wick movies, fourth one, I think, maybe. Every time he was on screen, I was just like, oh, Donnie Yen, because Keanu Reeves is good at action stuff, but he's not a martial artist. Like, you can really tell the difference between a martial artist and an action star. And just seeing Donnie Yen do anything, I'm just like, he punched so good.
Yeah. That's that might be the character then. Because I love old Hong Kong movies like that. And so watching a lot of Sammo Hung is, he's like kind of a bigger dude. He's like the most athletic kind of big fat guy you've ever seen in your life. It's so tremendous. He's like can do like cartwheels and high kicks, and he's like every bit as athletic as like Jackie Chan, but he's just huge. There's a bunch of those types of movies. There's a great Taiwanese one called The Revanchists, which is more of an action movie, but it's just full of monk shit. And I'm just thinking of that term now. It's just like, if I could use stuff from action movies, wow.
Yes. Like, because essentially, if there's anyone who's on wires, it's the monk. Like, that is the person who's flying, like, kicking forward and that kind of stuff. That is the whole monk thing. And it's so much fun. I watched all of those as inspiration for the monk that I played. And I had a book series. The reason my character wanted to be a monk was because she had read action books, and she was like, I'm going to be an action hero. And it's the dumbest reason ever to be a monk, but I was just like, that's why she wants to do it. And the action hero of those was named Donnie as well. So you get to take pieces of the things that you love with you into a story, and it's fantastic. So long as you just don't show up and go like, I'm Donnie Yen, I'm Ip Man, you know?
Okay, I'll try not to do that. Yeah, so I'm thinking there's a Jackie Chan. I'm gonna do Jackie Chan. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to just write down potential characters here. I'm going to do maybe a Jackie, I'm not trying to do the I am just Donnie Yen, but maybe like a Hong Kong-esque action star would be good.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Or Swashbuckler that's a gambling addict, I think, is probably my other.
Yeah.
Like just the Errol Flynn, but gambling.
There's so many cool characters to play.
There's also a guy there's a guy, I know this movie Sholay, very good movie. That's like a big 3-hour Indian movie. It's maybe the most seen movie ever, because it's been playing like basically ever since like 1975, I think, in some part of India, as of like 10 years ago or something. But they're not to spoil it, but the main the sheriff in here, you find out basically 2 hours into the movie that he doesn't have any arms, and like he has this big climactic scene where he just whips ass with just his legs, and he's just like
That's
doing
cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
The bad guy in the movie had like killed his whole family and chopped off his arms. So it's like that also would be kind of, he's just wearing a poncho the whole time because it's like an old Western. Actually very similar inspirations to Puss in Boots, because it's very much a spaghetti western thing. Damn, I should play tabletop RPGs.
Yes, you should. And there's such a fun way of exploring like disabilities as well, because then there's always some asshole in the TTRPG sphere who's like, well, why would my fantasy involve disabled people? I'm just like, because they're people, maybe, I don't know, but these people will also be
why
like,
does it involve elves?
Why
right?
they're also like, black people are unrealistic, too many women are unrealistic, gay people are unrealistic, disabled people are unrealistic. But then it's like you ask them what their favorite anime is, and they say Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood, and it's just like, you know, with the prosthetic, you know, the disabled character, they just it doesn't register to them that it's disabled rep when it's done well. They're just thinking about like, I don't fucking know. I don't know what, but yes. So I have like 2 player characters who have missing limbs.
That'd be cool.
One I was responsible for. One was a backstory thing. So
yeah, that sounds great. I was talking in my episode with Katie Osters about that. The movie Crash has some great representation for that.
oh yeah, with the leg brace, the one. Yeah, that's so cool.
I don't know if that's a wild movie to watch though. So
well. I mean, I'm probably gonna be like, recommend me anything, and I'll watch it at this point, because I'm always looking for things that I don't know that I need, you know, that I don't know that I want, because I think what we choose for ourselves is so informed by what we already like, and we are not that good at surprising ourselves.
Yes. You know, honestly, half the reason, probably the majority reason I started this podcast is just personally to get movie recommendations, to be honest with you. Because I don't know if I would have sat down and watched Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, probably, like, you know, I think I just hit 2250 movies that I've bought. Again, not neurodivergent at all.
No, that is a very normal amount of movies.
That's what I think.
I have one DVD.
Okay. You want to borrow it? Which DVD is it?
Over the Garden Wall.
Is that good?
That's an animated show. It's like kids. Okay. It's like kids Dante's Inferno.
Do you have a DVD player?
Well, I have my PlayStation, so.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
You can if the Blu-ray is too new, it won't read it. But I think like there's a cap for like what a PS4 can read. Like if I got a PS5, probably better. But I will keep. She's slow, but she's going. She's still going.
Yeah. We have a DVD player, or we have a Blu-ray player at the house, actually a region-free one, so that we can like order stuff from where you live and otherwise that doesn't come out in America because of rights. And I also have a portable one because I took the one from when I got out of my relationship, so I can carry it around. I have brought it over to a lady's house on a date. And I think it went okay, but
this is unsurprising considering how many movies you have.
You know, it's a good way to watch stuff. You get the nice colors, and you know, you get the, I guess I have 3 because I have my little Blu-ray drive that's hooked up to my computer, so I can rip movies. So, yeah, but yeah, I can. I had to take that off my Hinge profile. I don't know if you know the dating app. I don't know if you have Hinge over there, what the profile things are, but like I did put like It's like, I feel like people say, what's the nerdiest thing about you? And they want it like, I don't know if they're serious. Like that's I see that a lot in like profiles. Like, tell me like, oh, explain to me what the nerdiest thing about you is. Or like, I love to hear about people's passions. So explain to me like your passion. Like, do you want to hear about 1940s actor Laird Krieger and Hangover Square? But I have 2,200 movies. I don't get any responses from that.
There's like the normal people nerdy, and then there's like actual nerdy, I think. Like they want you to say that you played The Sims once, or that I used to have Legos as a child or something like that. Not that like I run make-believe with my I play make-believe with my friends still. I never grew out of that. Or so there, but there is a definite. I had on my Hinge that like rolling for initiative is always an option.
That's a great one.
Yeah, and then I did get nerd responses from that. But also dating apps for me are just like, I'm so not interested in people.
Why not?
Because I think it's the pretext of it. You know
Mhm.
what you're there for, and I am not a relationship person whatsoever. I've had to be convinced to get into
Mm.
relationships because I am really independent, probably hyper independent, probably
Mm.
something that I talk to my therapist about. So I need to like, because I know me and I know how to like be in a relationship with myself that is so much more satisfying than what I can imagine someone else giving me. So
Mm.
I need to be like, I'd be like, oh, fine, I guess you're making me happy, so we'll be in a relationship. So that's why like dating apps, I'm just like, I'm people watching. That's what I do on dating apps. I'm just
Mm.
like, look at all these people, and then I just close the app, and I have a lot of messages or like, what is it that they give on Hinge?
Roses?
Yeah, those. Like
Yeah.
I look at like, oh, and then I close the app because I'm just like,
Yeah.
I just don't care. Like it doesn't appeal to me actually that much.
Yeah.
I don't know why I have the accounts really, because
Yeah. I've stopped going on them as much. I totally get that. And I think it is like a therapy. I mean, like my experience with it as I've been like, I was in a long-term relationship for many years, and then probably about a year after it now, I think, or so. But I was in it for such a long time that like I don't think I knew how to be by myself as
yeah,
much. And so it's probably more of a skill, but I feel like as I've been more comfortable just being me and hanging out with me, and I don't really log into it anymore really.
yeah,
And it's like I remember when I after you get out of a relationship, like a few months after, I was like, oh, I should this and that, and like I'll be swiping and like doing this. But yeah, I think it's just now it's just like someone's got to like, yeah, it's just got to like it's hard. It's like I think even the math on it's bad. It's like because it's got to be
yeah.
like a thing of like someone who's got to be okay with someone who's has 2,250 movies, which I don't know what percentage of that is around here, but probably not too high. And it's also got to be they got to be interesting, and that's a
Yeah.
that's a hard one.
I think living life is how you find like-minded people, to be honest. Like it's so difficult on apps.
Yeah.
That it's like I think to me, and this is going to sound cynical, but romantic love is an inconvenience that I will endure if it happens, but until then I'm not going to go looking for it. I have other things to be doing with my life. I need to catch up because I'm behind schedule.
That sounds so. How does that I guess how does that jive with your like how does that like I guess coalesce with like you as a writer or TTRPG design, like narrative designer, etc.? Because it's I've when I feel like there's a romantic part in me. I hope there's a romantic, maybe that other people don't perceive, maybe certainly by the evidence probably not, but like I feel like that's like kind of correlative sometimes with like I guess the writing.
Yes.
So I guess like there's some tie in there, but
I love romance in fiction. I love
other people
narrative romance. And I have like one of my player characters is sort of in a relationship with an NPC that I've made as well. So I love
cool.
that, and I will ship all of our characters, and I'd be like, ooh, fun, and all of that stuff. But when it comes to in real life, I'm so not. That's so not me. Until I'm like off the deep end, like into someone, then that doesn't register to me. But in a book or in a show, if there's chemistry, but I also love just like platonic chemistry and relationships and having like fun, witty, or meaningful interactions. So that does like I don't think there is a way that I could be so focused on the social aspect of it all, the people of it all, without affording romance some room as well, because it is a big part of who we are. No one is that romance isn't mandatory in my games, but I'm just like, you can try to date whoever you want in my games. They might reject you if they're unavailable. Because I'm not like everyone is single, because some of them are in relationships already. But yeah, that's up to the players though if they want to engage with it or not.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing about the older movies. I think I've been liking more. The Wild Bunch, which is a great western. I don't think either of these movies I would. I mean, sure, I don't think Puss in Boots was. Maybe I don't think so. But on some level, it's about like these. Weirdly, I've noticed that like older movies seem to have like when you were talking about the Platonic stuff, they seem to have probably more of a. I don't know if it's they have a sophisticated understanding of them, but they have like a sophisticated expression of them. Because like the Wild Bunch is like about these four, and that's 69, but it's about like these 4 or 5 guys who are like living on the edges of society, who like they don't have wives, they don't have like they're it's in the old west, they're on the border, they're all kind of criminals, and they're like bank robbers, but it's like they have each other. And the movie is expressly about like it's like a poly friendship, I guess, is like the the way I would almost describe it, but in like a beautiful way, and like a like it almost feels bad even. Kind of like I don't mean that pejoratively at all.
Yeah.
But I also like the I thought about like what we said at the beginning about the Seahawk. It's like being part of a ship would be cool. I mean, I don't know if you were saying just like you want like I do want an actual sail, like a big pirate ship, like for sure. But also just like those guys, like that's their life, right? It's like there's like it's almost like a beautiful portrayal of like you don't really have that type of living situation anymore. I don't think in a way that was like, I guess you have the military a bit, but it's certainly more integrated in society because you're not like out on the campaign with like, just a bunch of dudes for like months and months and months. But like the Seahawk, it's like, that's like, going to port and like, presumably take part in the local pleasures and everything, the courtesans, so to speak. But like, that is their life, like just being on the ship and everything. Which is like a not necessarily more modern one, but it's I guess it's a lot different, in terms of the platonic versus romantic. I'm thinking of like his best friend's character. It's like there's a relationship there between Errol Flynn and his best friend, but it's not like I don't know what the way. It's not like a romantic one. I was actually kind of surprised on that because I heard that Errol Flynn was always supposed to be a bit gay, but I didn't get too much of those readings from him. I mean, certainly there was some. The constellation.
He also had a sword fight with the very queer coded villain. So there's that as well. So,
yeah, he's definitely, and I thought his shipmates were. There's definitely like, my best friend is gay, and he's one of my housemates who I watch. So we're always just laughing at that. We were laughing at the constellation quite a bit. It just has the dagger.
Very specific. Down. Yeah, very specific placement on that dagger.
Yeah. Yeah, the villains, it's hard to say how much of that. I mean, I definitely. Yeah, we were joking like it might be new Twink versus old Twink. Like he sort of ascended to the position as like the new Twink on the, like for Queen Elizabeth. Like she has to have a Twink advisor, so he's got to beat the old Twink.
Yes. I mean, I've heard about Twink death, but I didn't think it was by sword fight. But apparently that's how it worked back then.
Commonly.
Yeah.
Well, still. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not to get too on the nose.
Yeah.
I've heard, for everybody out there, through all my queer friends, I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, pirates also notoriously gay. Like ship husbands or ship wives or whatever. I don't know. Like they had their mate, and then they went out and did other things as well. And
well, it's hard. It's like I think it's like I don't know if they have as like the understanding. I guess the understanding versus expression, because like I think what's being expressed on like the relationships between all the guys is like, to your point about like platonic, like in romantic and stuff. It's like they're probably, those guys on the ship are platonically in love, like with all of each other in a way that's kind of beautiful. In a way that you don't see a lot of nowadays. It almost would be like kind of implied or very explicitly stated that they are actually, having a bunch of gay sex on that ship, which I definitely believe there's probably a lot of it going on.
There's probably some of that going on, yeah.
But also, it's like it's platonic first, it's your boys,
Definitely.
Which I thought was neat.
There's a lot of that, like male friendship or platonic relations is like, yes, brothers in arms, and like that's kind of like, with like Lord of the Rings as well, which is often lauded for being a nice representation of like the softer side of men, of like male friendship and support, and
for sure.
but they are also out on a campaign. They are with each other at all times almost. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a thing I love about the old movies that portray that, because so much is like has to be unsaid, so it kind of like allows these readings of it too, which I think is a lot different. Have you, so you said about Donnie Yen, have you like as a like player to player or as like a GM, have you seen other people like say like, well, I'm gonna be this type of movie, or like have you like kind of felt them like, oh, this guy's trying to do a Sylvester Stallone, or this guy's trying to do a John Wick or something?
Oh, we don't play with them anymore. But when it's too like, because you
Is that a warning if I show up playing like Jackie Chan? Are you warning me right now?
I think it's more of an encouragement for you to do your own thing rather than like just be something else. But we did have, when my friend was running a campaign, we did have a player who had named their character Arnold, and he had big muscles, and we can guess 3 times who that was based on, and the accent was there sometimes, and it was ridiculous.
I'm a warrior.
I'm a barbarian. Great, yeah. Like it's.
Oh, was he doing like a Conan? I guess specifically, probably.
Well, who knows? But it was Arnold, and it was like the power of muscles. Because he was you can be a zealot barbarian, and that's essentially a barbarian that is tied to a god. So it was, their god was muscles. So
okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But then it's like you can start with something goofy and expand upon it until it is your own thing. And I think that like if I have, because I tend to be quite serious about characters, and I want people to take it seriously, and a joke character, if it doesn't evolve, it is something that will grow tiresome, I think, for me personally. Like, there are people out there who think the same joke is funny over and over and over and over again, and I'm just not one of those people. So when it comes to, if your character only just, like, take Arnold the Barbarian, for example, if I was running the game and he had an emotional moment, and every time his response was just muscles, you know, like, first time might be funny. 15th time, probably not.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
The have you ever had a like in terms of, I guess, like the depth of the characters, like, do you think something like, I guess in terms of, is my habit for starting about 8 different sentences before asking a question, because I'm not very good at this. But like Puss in Boots, I guess, and Errol Flynn's character, it's like they're very protagonist coded, I guess you would say.
Yes.
So it's interesting, I guess, in terms of like storytelling. It seems like from an outsider perspective that, like, you know, how many players are typically in your groups? Is it like 4 or 5?
4. I think I sometimes have guest players, so it's up to 5, but I think that is my cutoff, because it's hard to manage. The more people you have, the harder it gets to manage.
Do you do them with like 1 or 2?
I haven't. I've done 3, but that was for one shots or like shorter stuff.
Okay. Yeah, is like one-on-one a common one?
There are specifically single player TTRPGs as well. I haven't done any of them. There are ones that, like for Call of Cthulhu, there are ones that you can read and run yourself through as well.
Oh, that's cool.
That's called like Alone Against the Flames, Alone Against the Dark, Alone Against the Cold, and stuff like that. So if you're interested in looking that up, that's something that you could run yourself through. But then again, that's cosmic horror, and you might just straight up die.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'm trying to get away from that in my personal life.
Yeah. But in terms of like, because everyone's the protagonist of their own story, and that's how I approach every NPC and every villain as well. And I think that informs character as a writer. But then for being a GM, you're not writing the characters. You're presenting the world, you're presenting the situations, and then they're writing the character. So it becomes a balancing act of like, together you are a unit that is the party, and then each of you are the protagonist of your own story, and then there are other people who are also the protagonists of their own story out in the world. So it is quite different compared to just sitting down and writing a book, because you have full control when you're just planning out a story, but there is a collaboration and a lack of control that you have running the games that is terrifying sometimes, because there is a lot of GMs say, doesn't matter how much you prep or plan, because your plan will never survive its first encounter with your players anyway. And I think, yes, if people are super chaotic, but it's also fine for you as someone who runs the game to say, like, this is the story I've planned. If you go off of that, you're going to get something that's much worse comparatively. You're going to get a big written out cool battle, or you're just going to go kick rocks. You can go kick rocks if you want to, but it's just like, it's not going to be as good as the thing that I've spent time working on.
Do you find that, like, are there groups that, like, sort of want to do that? I felt like when me and my brother, the couple sessions we played, like, we probably weren't, we were definitely trying to take, like, a bit of a counterintuitive approach, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, the story or what the person had prepared, which I kind of felt bad about, but it's like, I don't know that they, like, we were just like, oh yeah, we don't even want to fight this guy. It's like, can we run? It's like, we were just a cowardly evil. I mean, there's a porter, a cube. I think there was a mummy and a golem,
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think you have to take into account, like, all of this is establishing expectations. If the GM comes with, I want to run a story where you're the heroes, where you're saving the day, where you're this and you're that, and the players show up for the first session going like, I don't want to do this. And just like, you've made the wrong character for the campaign if you don't want to do this. It is the player's obligation to make a character that fits the campaign, and it is the GM's job to make the campaign enjoyable within a framework. There's a lot of, like, communication and establishing expectations will keep things on the rails. So I've never had something go completely off the rails because of this, because my players know what I expect. And yes, you can dilly-dally and you can have a fun time. We spent half a session, 2 of the characters were drunk as skunks and they went swimming in the harbour. One of them had just lost an arm, so I had to give her an infection because the harbour is filthy. And she failed her constitution saving throws, and then she didn't go to the doctor after, so she got sepsis. And I was just like, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. She just, her way, that player character's way of dealing with problems is just like, if I don't acknowledge it, it's not there. So it's a fun character lesson as well. So there's stuff that can come from improv, but I think there's obviously, like, plot hooks, and a good player will recognize when something is a plot hook and they will go for it. Yeah.
That's cool. Again, it's making me really want to try them again. I should, too many characters, though.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like 80 different characters I'd like to be. Maybe I'll just be my beholder again.
It's like it's the luxury of the player. All of my ideas go into, like, prepping stuff for my players. So when rarely do I play, but when I do, I'm just like, I'll fill, because I don't have a single character idea until I know what we need in terms of team composition.
Aw.
Yeah.
You don't ever just come with your, like, you're just trying to fill in the gap in terms of, like, what else is there?
Yeah, I often do that, but it comes from a practical standpoint, where it's just like, we have 2 casters already, and we have a squishy melee character. I'd be like, okay, well, I'll be someone tanky to round us out, and then I start building a character from there. But I have friends.
It's very nice of you.
I have
just double down on a caster, then you have a weird party, right?
Well, I tend to have more fun if we're a little bit more balanced than that, because I want the person who runs the game to be able to be hard on us, because I want a challenge for combat. And if you show up with 4 bards, yes, it's fun, and I've run that, and you can be diverse with certain classes. It comes with the caveat of, like, there might be blind spots here, and then you play with that in mind. But I don't tend to go for that on the regular. Yeah.
Do, like, if you did 4 bards and you ran up against a bunch of mind flayers or something, do people just die? Like, is that something you just say like, well, you got knocked out and then captured?
Well,
you ever kill off the characters?
With mind flayers, you would want to be wizards instead of bards. Just for intelligence saving throws, but you don't want to be fighting a lot of mind flayers anyway.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just mean like if in that party, right? Like I guess like if they failed the encounter, do you kill them off? Like is that? I
run tough encounters where people like it's quite normal for people to go down. But once the players lock in, they have been able to overcome most of what I've thrown at them. So I've not killed anyone yet. I've killed a bunch of people in Call of Cthulhu, but I've not done, because in D&D, once you get to level 3 and upward, you get way harder to kill, because you have so much utility at your disposal that you either need to get really unlucky. Or it's like really, really bad rolls. Those will kill a player, more so than a challenging encounter. Because once people are experienced, it's just like they will find a way to solve it, and that is also such a fun and inspiring part of it as well. It's just thinking like this is a big challenge, but they're prevailing time and time again.
That's cool. You mentioned in one of your videos about, I think it was about like consent in the D&D stuff. Like you have like a conversation about like what are the typical consent rules or consent requests, or like is it like just like I don't want to deal with any themes of like assault or something like that, or?
It is whatever you want it to be. So I run with like consent checklists. So I found one online ages ago that some very smart person that I don't remember the name of had wrote.
Shout out to you.
Shout out, nameless person. So it's like written out. I think it's been shared a lot through the community as well. And it covers fears and phobias. Like we call them like lines and veils as well. So like a hard line is something that you don't want discussed at all. And a veil is something that you can do if it's not too explicit, for example. But I run through the consent list as the GM and go like, I'm removing everything I'm not willing to run, because there's no point in me being like, do you want this, when I don't want it, because I'm the one who has to run it. So where you would do like sex, you would do like types of violence, you would do fears and phobias. I have one player.
Spiders.
Yeah, for example, if someone really, really doesn't want to deal with spiders, then they can say that like, please don't add any of that, and then it's just like it's your job to respect that. And I have a player with a phobia that I've had to avoid, and on the off chance that she listens to this podcast, I'm not going to say, because even the word brings her such discomfort that she feels nauseous. And you just write around it. And then it's so much better to be prepared when it comes to like triggers and stuff like that, because that could just derail and ruin a session. If you, for example, had an intense fear of spiders and suddenly there's 5 spiders on the map, and it just like
just people making fun of my hats or something, or saying I should wear a hat. Like I have a thing about that, but thankfully that hasn't happened this whole podcast at all.
Yes no, who would do that?
Yeah, I know.
Like that sounds like a monstrous action that like I wholeheartedly condemn.
A red flag, one might say.
3. I don't know how, but it's like at least 3.
3 red flags. Yeah, my beholder is holding a red flag in each one of his jacked eye stalks.
Jacked eye stalks.
Yeah, he's just fucking ripped, you know? Yeah.
What was his name? Was he Jack Eyestalk?
What was my name? Oh, God, I should have known that. I need to see. I wonder if I have my character sheets anywhere. I don't know where those would have been. Probably. I don't think it was something like Mike or something. It might have been like Big Al or like Big Mike or something like that, like a bodybuilder type name. It might have been like Beholder Mike or something. Yeah, I don't remember the name. I love creating. That's like my favorite part of the whole thing, is creating names. I played a lot of EverQuest when I was a kid, and then the massively multiplayer one. I loved it. And then I played it like recently as like on like an emulated server or something, and you could have last names in there. So I picked like the most elaborate elven name. I was Gallandandrilan Alandandrilandel. It was like the, and people love the name.
Very elven. Love that. Love that.
It was. I was very proud of that one. The which I was playing with my buddy was Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Was from Home Improvement. I don't know if you American sitcom from the 90s.
No, like not my field of expertise.
Yeah, I think we had like a Macho Man Randy Savage, the wrestler. So I was the only one who was doing like an actual RPG name. But I stayed in character. I was like a classic. I wanted to play like a classic, like Frank Frazetta high elf. I was a high elf enchanter. At least in EverQuest. It's like a kind of a support caster. Really love the class. But yeah, I would just stay in character the whole time, which was a lot of fun. I miss that. There used to be on MMOs, I don't know if they still have them, but they had RPG servers, and you're supposed to stay in character on them, which no one did. But I was always tried to.
Yeah, it seems like you're gonna be playing TTRPGs again at some point anyways, because it's like there's so many things that you say, I'm just like, well, you sound like a TTRPG player already.
I just don't have anyone to play them with.
That is, like, once you start meeting people, then it, like, sort of expands. Like, now I have, when I originally intended to start, like, my campaign, just one group with, like, 4 people, because I was just like, surely scheduling will misalign. So I invited 8 people to talk. I was just like, when you invite people, you expect half to show up, or, like, half to be available, or something like that. And then everyone wanted to, and it... And then I was just like, okay, 2 groups then of 4, and then we'll do like every other week, and then so luxury problem. But eventually, once you start meeting people, the ball just starts rolling, and yeah. It's a little harder as a player than as someone who runs games, though. The best way to meet people in TTRPGs is start running them. Yeah.
I think it'd be. I don't know if I would want to run them. Maybe I would. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot of work. I think. I don't know if I. Yeah. It just feels like a lot of work.
It is. Yeah. It's rewarding, but it is. You can run stuff that's more improv based. But I am too obsessive to do that. Like, I love having a plan, and especially if there's mystery or politics or anything like that involved, I'm just like, I can't improv that shit, because then suddenly it's like, and this guy did it, and people are just like, what about what you said last time? That doesn't, and I have to be like, figure it out, I guess, and that's just not that rewarding. Like, if you want to do something that has a little bit more structure to it, you need to plan.
Yeah. I guess I might try online. I'll see. I think there's like, there's probably tons of people that do it online, I would imagine. Do you do it online?
Yeah, I run online. Yes.
Nice. Oh, is it like with 8 people? Like the groups are online?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, so
you have no excuse aside from rudeness, along with your hat comments, to not, do I need to find 3 people, or do you know 3 people?
It's just jealousy of the hat that caused me to comment.
Do you want me to ship you out a cowboy hat?
Lashing out.
Do you have cowboy hat stores in Norway? Do you have Norwegian cowboys?
Are there specific full stores of cowboy hats in the States?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's funny. We don't have cowboy hat stores in Norway. We do not.
What's the is it like a rancher hat? It kind of looks like a fez, right? I'm trying to think of what my American cultural stereotypes of Norway are like.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a common thing. I don't know if I'm sure you probably know plenty of Americans, but I'd be curious, like, if it seems like it's a common thing for, like, at least my generation. Like, we still had the old textbooks when I went to school of, like, I thought every Norwegian dressed in traditional dress. I thought every, like, German person wore, like, lederhosen and drank beer every day. I remember being so confused when I found out that wasn't the case.
That's funny.
Bunad. Is it Bunad? Bunad?
Yeah, that's the national costume. I have a bunad.
So. Really?
Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
It's very common. You get them when you're you do like confirmations and stuff like that at like 15. and a lot of teens get a bunad as a gift. It's more common for the girls than the boys, though.
Okay.
But yeah, 17th
is it Dale?
of
Dale?
Norway? 17th of May was our Constitutional Day, so lots of people out and about in their bunads. So mine is specifically from like Nordland, so that just means Northland. So
okay,
yeah.
I guess I found NorwegianSweaters.com, which I'm assuming is like a holy Norwegian site, and I think I'm at Norge Hat. There you go. I'll get this thing.
Yeah, beautiful. Great.
Yeah. Look at that. I could do that look. The felted wool hat.
Yeah. We love wool. We love knitting.
I love wool.
Because there's a lot of outdoorsy people in Norway, and wool is so great to keep you warm when you're hiking.
Especially when it's cold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's no bad weather, only bad clothes. That's also an idiom.
Okay.
But it rhymes in Norwegian, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to learn some of these.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna play. Yeah, I'm gonna play like a traditional Norwegian. I'm gonna make a point if we do it. I'm gonna make a point to like. I'll be like a traditional Norwegian swashbuckler. I'll be a Norwegian pirate, and then I'll learn to speak Norwegian and also learn as many idioms as I can. I'll get like 12th century idioms.
Oh, okay.
Going back to like the Viking days.
Dedication is what I'm hearing, and I love that. I love to hear that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm gonna learn to be good at chess. So I'll be Magnus Carlsen, the Norwegian hobbit wizard.
I did recently do chess puzzles for my player characters in one of the groups.
That's cool.
Yeah, because sometimes you do puzzles as well. It's not just about like combat. Sometimes it's like social stuff, combat, exploration, and then you have like puzzles and problem solving. And it was essentially a map for a chessboard and pieces already set out as if the game was in progress. Big number 1 flashed above a red ominous orb, and they were just off to figure out. And of course, it was a mate in 1 puzzle, so they have to figure out which one piece do we move once to win the game. And they had fun with it. So, yay, Norway chess representation. I'm not as good as Magnus Carlsen, but like I would say almost as good.
Okay.
Yeah, because who could have thought of that?
Yeah, you're an international master, let's say, as opposed to like the GM.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
I'm a GM.
Yeah.
Chess.
There you go. Yeah, you are a GM.
Definitely
chess.
not.
Yeah,
definitely not. I like to do those mate in 1 puzzles because logic brain feels soothing once creative brain has been cooking all day.
Oh,
so, yeah. So that's why. And I was just like, hey, this will be a nice D&D puzzle. Simple, easy. One person was like, I don't know chess. I was like, what?
Yeah, you gotta know it. That's cool. I'd love to do a chess puzzle in a game. Those are always my favorite, like especially these old first-person ones that I've been playing.
Do you like riddles?
I love riddles.
Yeah,
Can I good riddle?
I've written like I've written like homonym riddles for my players. So this is also part of like what they're doing right now. So if you're one of my players, plug your ears, I guess.
Are you okay.
Because I do like homonym stuff. So like you need to find one word that means several things. So it was like something. This is kind of swashbuckling too. And it said like I am a sailor's friend. I am embrace. I am thought. And then it's like one word that means all of these things at the same time.
Your sailor's friend, your embrace, your thought. Well, I want to solve it now. You can't just.
Well, you can solve it if you want to. So it's a word that is associated with something that's useful for a sailor. It's something that also means embrace, and it's something that also has to do with thought. So a word that fits into all of those.
Oh, okay. Sailor's friend. And
they did say the word in Seahawk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a good one. Okay. I know this is probably not it, but I'm gonna use my lateral thinking. I'm gonna say rope. I'm gonna say rope because it's a sailor's friend, and it's it's like if you have a thought in your head, metaphorically, right? It's like you have a little rope attached to it. At least the way I visualize my own brain. And embrace, you sort of rope. Like if you're lassoing someone, then you can give them a little hug with the rope.
I like your thinking. It's a tad more literal than that.
Oh, okay.
So
I give up.
They said it when they were talking about maps.
Oh.
The map maker was the person who said it.
Oh. I'm thinking constellation, like compass. Trying to think of
think depth.
Think depth. Fathom. Rope again.
Yeah. No?
Was it fathom?
Fathom. I can't to fathom something is to think
right.
something, and a fathom is based on the length of your arms. So to
That's very good.
Yeah, and it's also the depth of water.
Yeah, I couldn't fathom the puzzle.
Yes.
There you go. That's good. That'd be so neat.
Mm-hmm. So I like making riddles sometimes. But those are specifically homonym riddles. And then as I got a list of them, I play tested them a little bit on my friends who were laying in the sofa like this, staring at the ceiling, because it's 12 of them. But they got a little bit easier as they went, because they were just okay, I get how literal it needs to be. It needs to be the word. I can't be abstract about it. So
gotcha.
I don't know if this homonym riddles is a class of riddles, because I tried to do research about riddles as well, and it's it's all very, sorry if you hear my Discord pinging, I'm gonna
Oh no, it's not right. Yeah, I don't know. Has there been a good this? I know there's been tons of riddle books. Has there been a lot of riddle research, riddle ontology?
I didn't want to dive into it because the obsessive part of me would be
Is that another Fathom joke?
I'm going to maybe accidentally, because then I would have to be maybe I should write a book about riddles, and I'm just no, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that.
You do need to do that. Yeah, you got to do that.
She's got a lot to do already.
Honestly, well, you're very good. You're very good, to give you another compliment. You're very good at ontologizing. I don't know how to say that word, but the categories of things, and setting this is a trope, this is a thing, this is a thing. Your videos are very left brain to deliver a right brain stuff. You're talking about.
I love a little bit of organization. I make templates for combat encounters as well. Yeah.
You tell me a TTRPG DM is a nerd? Yeah. No.
I thought this was a safe space to be weird.
Yeah, absolutely. I have my movies alphabetized, so
yeah. I mean, if it's 2,000 of them, you
2250.
gotta.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I need to put some respect on your name. 2250.
Please. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's for all my. That's I'm just trying to build a nest for the weirdest lady out there, I guess. That's this is my little Birds of Paradise, Planet Earth type thing.
You should hold as many DVDs as you can, and do a little dance for TikTok. Yeah, because
I should do that.
Every time I see men do extravagant tongue-in-cheek dance videos on TikTok, there's always someone in the comments that's just I feel like a female bird, because it's I feel like I'm being mating ritualed.
Yeah. Damn, I should do that. Maybe that's the way to get it. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, that'd be funny. I'll set up a nest.
Yes.
Yeah. Where I live my brother's house is kind of weird though. So it's there's in front of my DVD, it's the people who lived here before had put up this really, looks like Thomas Kincaid wallpaper. I don't know if you know Thomas, they're the painter. He's he did paintings they were in every hotel in the 90s and stuff. Just these very very RPG cottage in the woods type. He's very popular suburban artist, I guess. No disrespect to Thomas Kincaid, but there's just a giant, where my DVDs are just in front of me would be kind of funny, because it's just very very rural American coded, I guess. But I don't know if that's the type of gal that is also going to be attracted to 2,250 DVDs. Maybe. Yeah. This is now turning into a therapy session. TTRPGs and podcasts are therapy.
Honestly, kind of, yeah. I think talking to people, I think anywhere when you're going into an open and honest conversation with someone, if you're ready to actually get to know each other, then it turns kind of familiar kind of quickly.
Yeah, Absolutely. Well, Millie, thank you so much for being here. So the last thing we typically do are little recommendations. And so I would say, just while you're giving it a second to think, I will say, I think I brought it up, Sexy Beast, the movie, because it has Ray Winstone, who is in this. And it's also sort of about like impending doom. But then The Mask of Zorro, 1997, one of my favorite movies as a kid. Also Antonio Banderas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Anthony Hopkins. And I haven't seen any other Errol Flynn movies. I do like the original Shrek in terms of animated movies. Inside Out's always one. And then Sholay, which I brought up, The Sheriff with No Arms. And then so have you not seen It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart? That's like the one I think. See, I had never seen that till a couple years. That's like one of the very famous Christmas movies, I guess. But if you ever want to have a good cry and then like a good hopeful, it like guaranteed will just make you weep.
Love crying.
Okay.
I love a movie that'll make me cry.
Yeah. So Jimmy Stewart's good, and he's the little cricket in there, and he's also great in Vertigo, but that's a much more intense psychological thriller. I don't know if you like those, but that's deals with a lot with like identity and stuff from Hitchcock. But he's a great actor. So, and then Matt Zuccarello, watch his highlights. Yeah,
yeah. He's a wizard, ice wizard. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, Ice Wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you got?
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
I'm bad at movie recommendations.
Okay.
I think, what is that one? Is it Princess Bride? That's kind of like, I think when they were fighting through the halls of the castle.
Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah. I definitely went like, okay, like, a fight scene that evolves through different settings.
Yeah,
definitely that. I mean, I'm a little bit like early Pirates of the Caribbean as well. Like, did fight scenes really well. Where like the one on the wheel and everything, like a fight scene that just literally goes somewhere physically. I think that's really cool, and I feel like definitely this might have been like early influences that domino affected into like those kinds of movies.
Yeah. Well, you know, do you have time for me to nerd out for just a minute more?
I do.
Appreciate you. We'll say this is penance for the hat insults. That is such a great point. I think I made a little movie about this, but Jackie Chan, because we brought up the Donnie Yen and the Jackie Chan. If you like movies that sort of use the environment and they go places, the scene in Puss in Boots, one of my favorite of all the scenes, was the dance sequence when the sort of the worlds kind of collapse, or like the map is like they're dancing on like the rocks, the stuff that are floating as they're trying to get the map back from the three bears. And it's like a dance scene. It's like a kind of like they're doing like a dance scene.
So weird as well.
Yeah.
When they're like,
yeah. Well, that's what I love about that is like Jackie Chan is like he's like certainly I think the greatest action star ever. And if you like that type of stuff, but he is like very he is just an old musical nerd. So he doesn't do his action scenes like action scenes. He does them like dance scenes. And so Tom Cruise is also famous for that, which is one of the reasons I love Tom Cruise in a lot of the Mission Impossibles is like he's like you got to treat a dance scene like a fight like a fight scene like a dance scene. And so very like self-consciously, I think like Puss in Boots doing that. And
I think that's how you get the flirty, sexy fight scenes as well. There needs to be a dancerly quality to it as well for it to be kind of hot. Not that every dancerly fight scene is meant to be hot, but there is something like there's a little spice on top of it.
If you want to come back on the podcast, that would be Mask of Zorro would be a great one to do. It has the sexiest fight scene in any between Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, where they are flirting and fencing in like a barn.
Yes,
and
I think this is the one that I've seen that YouTuber talk about as well, because she's just like, this is so hot, and she's like breaking down why it is so hot, because it's character informed fight scene, but also all about like their chemistry and their relationship.
It was because I had watched it growing up, and then I remember watching it probably again when I was, hitting puberty. Where I was like, oh, I think I like ladies. Like, I think if this is like what Lake and Ladies is, I was like, I can't wait to fence in a barn with a cute gal.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is what that's the goal. Honestly, I'm
Yeah.
also I'm like bisexual. I'm into like whatever. Or sometimes I'm like I hate and love everyone equally. Like that's like
Yeah.
I have no scruples when it comes to
That
like
sounds right for
gender. Yes, it does, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does.
But I think also a good like theme for a podcast would be like sort of like sexual awakenings, like characters or like movies that were, for me, animated. Treasure Planet, like there's a, she's
Okay.
kind of a cat to be honest,
Okay.
but she's got like a captain's, like she's a captain of a ship. Again, swashbuckler, and she's got like these lot boots, like
Yeah.
Puss in boots, Errol Flynn in boots, that cat lady in boots, which is another
Yeah.
cat in boots. Apparently, I'm less
You like
complicated. I'm less complicated than I make
Yeah.
myself out to be, I think.
Boots and hats. I think you need to come to America probably if you're like if you like boots and hats, because you said do we
Yes.
have a hat store? It's literally that's the type of store. There's a store near me, Elliot's Boots. It's literally Elliot's Boots and Hats. So you can just go in
Boots
that
and
store and
hats.
just start feigning.
Love.
Oh yeah, I do. That's the last thing I do. You have a great American accent. I noticed in one of your videos you talked about like I think a DM forced you to change characters because they didn't want you to do an American accent.
No,
right?
like they had someone, because obviously the DM is responsible for all of the other characters. So even if you write a backstory which just like, okay, my mother or like someone from my hometown, so someone from my hometown who should have had the same accent as me was Cockney for some reason. So here I am with like my general American accent, and he's like, "Oi, how's it going, mate?" And it's just like, what are you doing? Like I was just, and I
Sounds
got
like Papa
whiplash.
Bear in this.
Like I got whiplash from it because it's like, and that was not their accent either. Like their original accent, it was not Cockney. So it's just like they chose to do an accent, just not the one that was on the same continent as the one that I. So yes, I did do like a general American accent.
It was good. You slipped into it in the video. I was like, that's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always wonder how weird we sound to other people.
I think I love all accents though. Like I don't think there is an ugly accent. I think language is fascinating, and I also think that's why I speak English so well as well, because there's musicality in it, like the music stuff. There's there's the nerd stuff. There's the being too obsessive, and there's the love of people. I think that's sort of the recipe for being like
And the hatred.
good and hatred, love and hate. Yes, yes.
Well, it's similar. It's on similar lines, right?
Yes.
It's like in my yeah.
But yeah, I do like
something to that.
Southern American accent for like the character that one of my players is kind of dating.
All right, let me now. So now you're getting into my area. Let me critique it. So you got like, okay, yeah. What do you got? Let me hear it.
It's just sort of like because I know there's nuances within like Southern accents as well. So he just kind of is kind of like a sunshiny. He's a paladin, right? So he's like a good, muscly himbo.
Love a
So
himbo.
I lower my voice a bit, like what I'm not gonna do now. So he's like, we love a y'all.
Okay,
So he's like, hey y'all, how you doing? You doing
That's
all
good.
right? Yeah.
that's like Texas.
Yeah, we're feeling good today. Yeah, like
You're doing like a Matthew McConaughey. I like that.
Oh, what does he say? There's like one thing that he says that people, all right.
Yeah.
Is that?
all right.
Yeah.
Mr. Soderbergh, I think I'm gonna have to take my shirt off. Is like the famous.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But and I do lots of the UK accents as well. Oh, and I do Norwegian because you gotta. But to me, that sounds like an ugly accent. But that's only because I think there's a little bit of like making fun of accents. I think there's a level of classism that goes into that, and I think within like your own country too, because the implication and the assumption of someone not being good enough at speaking English is just like, well, you weren't properly educated.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's definitely like there's it's you definitely. I feel like probably less now, but it depends on where you go. There are certainly people I went to high school with and like around from my hometown that like you could not they couldn't get a job at IBM. Yeah, it's like the East Tennessee accent is more of an Appalachian one. But I had a speech impediment growing up, so I like, even though I was raised halfway in Massachusetts, halfway in Tennessee, my accent generally tends to be pretty flat unless I'm talking with people in East Tennessee. Like if I go to the grocery store or something. Well, how you been?
You switch. That's
absolutely
good. Yeah.
What you say? That's what I had to learn. If you want a good East Tennessee one, just ask when you see a character, you say, "What you say?"
Oh.
What you say, Millie?
What you say?
Yeah, there you go. It means what do you say, which is just like I remember when I first heard that when I was like got a job at 15 at like this really rural market and diner. I was like, I didn't say anything, and they're like, no, it's a greeting, son. What do you say? I was like, okay. So then I had to learn. Oh, what do you say, Bill?
That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah, then we say like Mike could, and a lot of times people say his self instead of himself, which makes more sense, actually.
Yeah.
Like instead of like the third person direct or whatever, it's like the possessive, herself and himself. It should be herself and his self, but it's like, yeah, he busted his ass the other day. He had to pull himself to the hospital, or something like that. Which sounds better.
I love accents. I love like linguistic quirks and stuff like that. It's just, but that's again love for people. I think that's the core of it all. And hey,
I'll send you a video after too of this guy driving right near my town into a rock slide. And he has the best East Tennessee accent, but it's like a specific, it's so musical. And he's like, I came around the corner and I heard y'all were hollering at me, and I didn't even see that rockfall thing there. I'm lucky to have been hit in a way that, my dog took a hit, but she's all right.
My dog.
Like, yeah, my dog took a hit.
I love a good, there's an extra vowel in there. It's not, there's an A, dog. I love that.
Diphthongization. Yeah.
Ooh.
I think it's called, if you want to know. I'm trying to remember my linguistics class. Diphthongization, I think is, we do it like quickly in East Tennessee. East Tennessee accent's kind of like very quick. So it's like a lot of the times if you hear someone do like a Southern accent, like, when the dog bit the hog, it was against the law, and my father was so upset, just like doing a Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Well, I think when I was running that other day, that it was kind of upsetting that I couldn't win the race, and they do it like that. But Tennessee is like generally, it's like much more. East Tennessee is like very much quicker. So I'm ready to send her a rock slide video.
Yes.
There you go. Sweet. Okay, well, cool. Yeah, Princess Bride's great, and any final thoughts? Play TTRPGs. It sounds like.
Also, watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
If you haven't done it by now, do it. And yes, play TTRPGs. Play anything. Stay childish, because none of us have to grow up. That is like propaganda that we have to grow up and be respectable people. Because I think staying in contact with our playful side just connects us in a way that like modern society or like our lives under capitalism, they're not really we're not really encouraged to pursue that. Fun.
Have hobbies.
Literally have hobbies. Buy 2,250 DVDs and watch every single one of them.
All right. You melt my heart now. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna start blushing here. Yeah, buy 2,250 DVDs and watch them all, and then start a podcast where you get other people to watch them, and they send you videos that you then add. I bought both Puss in Boots movies because of so. Now I get to watch the other one, but I have both of them now. So
I need to rewatch the other one as well, because I've seen the second one like so many times, and I think I'd seen the first one once. I don't remember it being bad, but I don't think it is as good. Like,
it'd be hard for anything to be as good as this. This is so tremendous. Yeah. Thank you so much for. It's good to have like another movie like this to crack into. I think when I'm feeling a little. It's kind of in that Mission Impossible category when I need it, like you said, a little escape.
Yeah, it's like it's a pick me up. It's a home run. Like, it will make your day better. Yeah, and I think we also need that every now and then.
Well, cool, Millie. This has been so fun.
Yeah,
thank
I had
you
a
so
great
much for
time.
coming on.
No, thank you for inviting me. Please do have me back. I feel like we could make several more episodes.
Absolutely, I would love to. Yeah, and then if you're doing the TTRPG.
Yes.
I'd love to.
I have another like TikTok friend. She does like content on books and stuff, and she messaged me talking about like, do you have advice for running TTRPGs and stuff like that? And I was just like, yeah, if I ever run something, she's interested too. And I know other TTRPG creators as well, so that I've played with. So we can get like a mix of like a couple of experienced players and a couple of newer players. Maybe that would be good, because then it's like, you know that you'll stay on track that way. Definitely.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, sweet. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Millie, and thanks everyone for listening. And hope you have a good day, weekend, whatever. Cheers.
Thank you.